Well, it's weird because I always stress because like normally knowing me, like when I'm like, oh, it's gonna be like 8 o'clock. That means to me in my brain is that I know that I'm intending to be at 8 o'clock, but it's gonna be 5 past, 10 past, and then I'll watch like other people go live on YouTube, and it's like, wow, that stream was scheduled 20 minutes ago, and they're still on like they're starting soon screen. I don't feel quite as bad because I know it's like it's probably most creative people are like bad at keeping time. We nowadays it's like, so we should probably get there at 9 o'clock, right? We day. We can't. We don't edit this. People can't. Oh, for fuck's sake, Karl.
So am I audible now?
So yeah, you should be audible now. One of my monitors had to be replaced, and it's clearly like changed some of my default settings on things because like, I've plugged in a new audio device, and it's like, yeah, it's one of those. So apologies. Obviously,
Yeah,
as I always
wondering.
mention, or I like to try and remember to mention at least, I do get the audio files later, and on podcast services, things like this are normally edited out. So
Well, me being quiet for the first 10 seconds is better than the audio being bad. So hopefully the audio is good, but I'll try my intro again. So I am the host for this episode of the Wiki Weekdays podcast, Karl Smallwood, joined as ever by the illustrious Lucas Holland.
hello there. I was kind of tempted to like try and just mouth hello there to just pretend like I was muted.
A
I
joke
couldn't
that'll
I
play
couldn't
very
commit to
well.
the bit.
The audio version of that would be very funny. But
Mm-hmm.
yes, anyone unfamiliar with this podcast or the format that we adopt here at Wiki Weekends is like myself and Lucas will scour the lengths and breadths of the internet for a wiki on a subject we're interested in, bring it forward for discussion, and see what kind of conversation arises as a result. And we have a dueling wikis format for the podcast where I'll bring a wiki, Lucas will bring a wiki, and we invite you, our audience, to vote on which one's funniest or inspires the best conversation. We'll reveal the winner of last week in the interim, in the break, because we have other things to plug before that, don't we?
It definitely wasn't because I just posted the poll a bit late.
It's fine. It's fine.
Fine. Oh dear, but yes, we will reveal which wiki won this week during the mid break.
Because the stuff that's more important, and one of the things that's more important is the pet of the week. And pet of the week is a gimmick we like. I think it's probably the best gimmick we do.
I think so.
Where we
Yeah.
invite members of our Patreon to just submit pictures of their pets, animals they see, random, just like birds they see flying past the house. Like if you can get a bird as it flies past your house, that'd be incredible.
Or just as
And,
it
like,
smacks into your window, like the frame it hits your window.
well, it's like that. Did you see that guy who spent like 4 years and like 10,000 photos getting the exact moment a kingfisher entered the water?
Oh my god, no.
It looks incredible because it just looks like the bird is standing exactly on its beak on like a crystal lake. Great.
Did you see the woman who spent ages developing glasses with bits of cardboard attached to it so she could get like birds feeding right in front of her eyes?
See, you can do that for free, and it's called just go to London where the pigeons are, and they'll get you.
I don't know if I've ever mentioned on this podcast the time that a seagull tried to get in a fight with me.
Oh yeah, like it's like didn't it just took over like the outside of Nando's or something?
Yeah. I can't remember whether I mentioned it on a podcast specifically or not, but yeah, there was a time when I was working on like a different Nando's that had like a few little just tables outside, but it's in like a bit of it like a dingy alley on the outside, just classy as Nando's always is. And yeah, one time it was just the middle of summer, and it was like, oh yeah, go and clear the tables outside. So when I went to clear the tables outside, there was just a seagull having the chips that were left. And as soon as I approached the table, it just spread its wings like
And
full
you get big
wingspan.
fucking seagulls in Liverpool, right? Is Liverpool where like you're not allowed to feed them because they're obese?
Yeah, there was
that
literally
Bristol?
like I remember there was a Metro article talking about the obesity problem that the seagulls have in Liverpool.
Because all they're doing is like raging on the Nando shits, and then
They
being
are.
obese makes them fucking massive
And
and
yeah,
aggressive.
it literally just squared up to me. I was like, I don't get paid enough for this, and just walked away.
It's you know what, seagull, have them chips. It's fine.
It's that thing we always talk about, like the goon that works for like the mafia or whatever. It's like, just walk away. It's not worth your life for this. That's the moment that
Yep.
I felt, you know what? No, no, no. I'm not
That's the thing.
having
You
this
probably
seagull.
could if you went over and like just was a bit more forceful. You probably could scare it away.
I'm sure
But
I
what
could have
about
done.
if it pecks you or like causes an injury? You're never living that down, right? Like,
Mhm.
also, does seagull get you again? You want that for like rest of your life, do you? But if someone out there spots a massive fat seagull, takes a photo of it and submits it to our Pet of the Week channel on our Discord, it might win Pet of the Week. But this
It might
week
do.
it's won by Zelda. And that's a good name for a
Yeah,
cat, and it's just hidden inside of a dressing gown. It's like it's the cat's dressing gown now.
it
Speaking of, it
is.
belongs to the animal.
I like as well that they mentioned like this is Zelda getting inside of the dressing up before they even manage to like get in it themselves. So the cat's trying it on first. It's like that's very cat-like.
The funniest one will always be just the caption is, "Why did you do this? How did you do this?" And it's a cat on a sofa where all the cushions have been pushed off, and it's just sat where the cushion. It's like you had the cushions, so you could have sat on the cushion, but you deliberately pushed the cushions off somehow and then sat on the springs.
It's the classic cat thing, isn't it? Of just X thing that I bought for the cat, and the cat got in the box instead.
It plays in the box. Yeah, it's like tigers do that. It's just intrinsic to all cats. Well, yes, if you would also like to submit a pet of the week, you can do so by joining our Patreon. And Lucas, we are close to our first goal on Patreon. Yes, like
We are
just
extremely close, yes.
1 month into 2025, we're already starting to reach and accomplish our goals. I feel so enthused, so energetic to accomplish a goal so early in the year.
Yeah, literally, like at this moment of recording, we are less than £10 away from unleashing guest podcasts upon the world.
Yes, and we've got a couple of those recorded already, and presumably, if we get to that first stage, there's one particular one we recorded with someone who's an expert on.
Well, I would be an expert on The Sims, which would be, I'm hoping, a timely podcast because they just announced for the 25th anniversary that they're re-releasing Sims 1 and 2 on PC.
Which sounds like that would be ideal. So yeah, keep an eye out for that. Like follow the links below if you'd like to help us reach that goal or support us further. But otherwise, like, just watching this, liking, commenting, subscribing, all that good stuff is more than enough support. Like everything else additionally to that is appreciated, but by no means expected.
Yeah, of course, totally. And it's always one of those of we remind people that just giving us a like, sharing the content, stuff like that. That's all ways that you can support us for free. And even if you just watch the video, that's more than enough because it's more than what most people do for us.
Right.
So we appreciate everybody watching and listening. And just, yeah, never feel like your support any other than that is mandatory, but it's just always appreciated.
We have to mention it because that's kind of the industry we're in now.
That's
It's
the
like
game, right? We've got to play
just
the
chatted,
game.
like in the intro where you couldn't hear me, we were chatting mad shit about like cinemas putting 15 minutes of ads before the content, and now we're doing the same thing. It's like, no.
But I like to think that we actually have like some level of conversation where, you know, it actually adds something to listening to it. But I will say as well, like, you know, we mentioned talking about The Sims, and it is really interesting having those guest podcasts because we spoke for over an hour on The Sims with a person on the guest podcast, but we'd also, like, not that long ago covered The Sims ourselves, but it's actually amazing how different the conversations end up being with that different perspective and that different person driving the conversation in different avenues. Like, it's such an interesting thing of like, okay, yeah, we can talk about The Sims because that's like what they're one of the things that they're an expert on, right? And it makes sense to have people in talking about things they're knowledgeable on or passionate about. And it's so cool and interesting, even as someone who's making the content, be like, hey, that's so cool that that conversation was entirely different than the one Karl and I had.
Like just to listen in on someone else, like, oh, this is like just to hear someone speak about, as you said, someone who's passionate, knowledgeable, or otherwise very like intimately familiar with a particular subject, even one you may not be familiar with yourself. That's why people love like documentaries and stuff, right?
And
which, like, I'm not comparing us to documentaries. There's way more effort goes into those, unless it's like the YouTube ones, which like those bad YouTube ones, like they about as much research as we do, where they're reading from a wiki that they don't tell you is a wiki page.
At least we're honest about the wiki part.
We are indeed, yes. And we'll get on to your wiki for this week, Lucas. But there's one thing I want to promote. I want to be a little bit selfish.
Oh, hell yeah.
Because like last week, it was your birthday, yes.
It was indeed.
Your birthday. And this week will be my birthday. So fuck it, I'm like promoting my birthday. So this Friday I'll be streaming around like 8, 9, maybe 10 o'clock, depending on when I get done with the day. I'll be streaming Metal Gear Rising Revengeance as I often do, having a few drinks and celebrating my birthday.
Yeah.
Yay!
Like, at very least, Karl, your birthday wasn't like basically on the day of the inauguration.
Yeah, yours kind of got overshadowed a little bit, right?
It was nice to, have my birthday stream, and I thoroughly had a great time with my birthday stream, to the point of I'm thinking my Monday streams, when I can do them, might have to start being half Mario, half Marvel Rivals, because I had so much fun doing that.
Like getting some Marvel.
Or Karl's gone robot-y. Oh no. But yes, I'm hoping that Karl comes back. But yeah. Or we're getting lost in the robotness. But I'll hopefully not be talking over Karl while we're doing this on the audio version. And just mention that, it was lovely stream, but then waking up the next day and seeing all that, the news and backlash about the inauguration stuff, it was like, oh, happy birthday, Lucas. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm back now. I'm not a robot anymore. I think it's because I just had the stream up in the background and just my computer can't handle that.
Mm-hmm.
That's too much, Karl. So you know what? I'm not going to promote my birthday anymore. We're going to move on to your wiki for this week,
Karl,
Lucas.
No, Karl. Please.
Clearly, I'm being sent a message of trying to promote my birthday and the stream crashes. It's
okay.
No.
I'll quickly mention Karl is doing a birthday stream this Friday, and we will talk more about it during housekeeping, where hopefully the robots don't come after Karl.
They always do.
Give me 1 second to take a drink while you introduce my wiki.
Well, I was just introducing your wiki. I don't know what you brought for this week. That's the thing of Lucas, you brought a wiki, and presumably it's going to be about, I'm going to guess, gaming.
No, it's not. Today we're talking about anime. Yay!
Okay, so let's talk about anime.
It's Weebin Wednesdays time again.
Okay, so we're on a Weebin Wednesdays. Got it.
We are Weebin Wednesdays today, and we are talking about we're talking about I don't know what distinguishes proper anime from not proper anime, but
I was gonna joke and say when I talked about Cobra Kai.
Oh right, okay.
Western anime.
Also a lovely super chat there from Charlie. Just happy birthday, fellas. Appreciate it.
Man. It's a shame we don't live close enough to each other anymore, right? We used to do joint celebrations for our birthdays, because there's me, you, and a mutual friend whose birthday's in the middle of mine and yours, and we always used to just have a big get together on a weekend, right?
We did used to, but to be fair, at very least, we are meeting up for what, a Pokemon tournament, and watching that at the end of next month.
Yeah,
so at very least, we're doing something, a bit of a delayed celebration together. And I'm not going to give away the location of where we're meeting, so that people are not going to dox us.
Yeah, it's still going to meet in an undisclosed location.
Just we're going to meet somewhere, just in an alley, and just stream on off one phone.
Yeah.
But the anime that I'm talking about today, Karl, is one that you're familiar with, My Hero Academia.
Okay, so is it going to be the anime itself, a character from the anime, a season, the manga? What
we're talking about a character, and I will say that I don't think I've watched the most recent season, so don't be very wary of late game spoilers, I suppose. But yeah, I think I'm not fully caught up, so I'm gonna do my best to not spoil anything. But we're talking about one character that kind of appears closer towards the first few seasons anyway.
And that character is?
That character is, and just pronunciation wise, stop it in the comments. I'm going to stop it right now before I know I'm going to say things wrong. But Hitoshi Shinso. And they are known as the hypnosis hero Nighthide.
So I'm going to have to look up Nighthide.
You're going to know who this person is, because it is the person that uses their voice to control other people's minds.
Oh, that dude! Okay, because I didn't know what his hero name was, because I guess he just never used his hero name.
Yeah, so I think Nighthide is one of those where they use their name once or twice.
because they're not in it much, but their power is busted ass broken.
It is, and it's really cool. And just like I knew I was going to talk about a My Hero character, and while we were like, just doing some stuff beforehand and chatting, you mentioned that you were going to be talking about something related to the person in the thumbnail, which is Darren Brown.
Thing is, though, this character is just Darren Brown with superpowers. He's like Darren Brown with actual powers. Like Darren Brown might be more powerful than this character.
So that's
after we've covered like this and we've covered mine. Spoiler, we're talking about Darren Brown, the illusionist. We might have to like get our audience to decide not which wiki won this week, which character is more powerful. I think Darren Brown could take this guy out.
Potentially, yes, and that's why I thought it'd be a fun discussion to like talk about this character side by side next to Darren Brown and talk about like just have a general podcast around the idea of like manipulating people's minds.
Also, as well, the idea of you're going to listen to Lucas go through the wiki for a character who is fictional and has superpowers, and I guarantee you some of the stuff that Darren Brown has done is more impressive than the stuff in a literal fictional superhero universe.
That's the thing, as far as I'm aware, Shinso has never actually managed to manipulate someone into killing anyone else.
He's also not managed to manipulate someone for more than like 5 minutes before someone figures out how it works.
Yeah. Oh, so someone asks in chat that it's the person who mind controls when he asks a question. Yes, that is the character of Night Tide here. They are a student.
Use that power on the phone, man. It's like idiot says what? What? Done.
They are a student at UA High School attending Class 1C of the Department of General Education before being transferred into Class 2A, the school's hero course. And that's, like, this one character is the person who couldn't get onto the hero course somehow. Fuck knows how, but then...
All he had to do was ask if he could go on the hero course, and he would have gone.
Is he stupid? Like, the biggest fucking chip on their shoulder about it when you finally meet them in the tournament arc.
When he's in like he's in the goober class for people whose powers aren't good enough. It's like, well, one of the people in your class is invisible, which is a good power, but they can't ever turn visible.
I love the fact that that was a character that was meant to be in Class 1B, but they decided to move the invisible girl. I can't remember her name, but they moved her into Class 1A because it was just super easy to draw that character.
She's just a pair of shoes, right? And she's naked all the time. That's like the thing. I think the
weird, creepy thing of like, well, technically that means she's a high schooler that's naked constantly, but it's fine because she's invisible all the time.
I think they do clarify eventually she wears clothes that also turn invisible. Like they design them for it, and she has the shoes and the gloves so people can see where she is.
I think eventually that's the case, right?
Yeah.
But I think at first it's not, and yeah, it's all a bit weirdy, especially in the first couple of seasons when they like, bear in mind this was still when they thought that Mineta was an okay character to have in there.
Yeah. It's a classic trope, isn't it? Of like, if a character can turn invisible, that you always have to have that scene where they turn invisible, but their clothes don't, so they have to get naked.
Remember Jessica Alba in Fantastic Four of how many times they would like, oh no, she's getting dressed or getting undressed, and she just happens to have like forgotten how to be invisible, so we can see her half naked.
All that is just the director's like, we've got a couple of chances to get Jessica Alba in her underwear. I'm taking it. This is for culture,
and it's not for good culture.
It's not,
unfortunately, but it does say that 8 years later. I'm not going to read that part because I think that that's like after school, which I don't want to get into because I don't know what happens after their school run.
You just cover their basic biographical information, get to the powers, because the powers are the fun stuff. And this is a character whose power set is something they deal with in the My Hero Academia universe that I appreciate, because other superhero media doesn't really acknowledge it that much. They pretend that superheroes just are completely wholly altruistic beings, and a lot of them are, but My Hero Academia acknowledges that some people, if they got superpowers, would just want to get fucking paid. And they're not going to be villains. They're not going to go rob a bank or like steal cars, but their powers would be very beneficial to certain industries. And it's like the Gravity Girl, right? She says, what are you going to do? Well, I'm going to pass this class, but imagine how useful my powers would be for the shipping industry.
She's like, oh, my dad runs a construction business. Like, all I'm going to do is go and help him out. And like obviously, that very much changes over the course of the entire show because she, learns more about being a hero and stuff. But her first goal was just, yeah, it'd be great if I could get money and then help my dad out by just making construction without gravity.
And that's, if you think about it, that's actually a busted ass power, because like one of the biggest costs of construction is the moving of materials. It's like one of the most time consuming processes. Like we've got to move this like 14-ton steel girder, and it's going to take us. We've got to get a fucking truck bed in and 15 dudes and a crane, or we can get one high school girl go boop. Like you've just like quadrupled our efficiency. Boom, done.
And again, like obviously we've mentioned this before, but I just think that Deku's mum's power is like the most underrated thing in the entire show, because she's like, well, I can only move small objects from my mind, and it's like, okay, but you see every other person go from I have very small specific power to I've trained that power and now it's elite. Like,
Deku's mum is one of those like superhero, or she's like one of the cases where she just wanted to work, she didn't want a busy life. But if you look at her power set, she says, "Oh, I can like lift up small objects of like a pound." So okay, but do you know what weighs that much? Razor blades, like knives, broken glass.
I was more thinking in terms of being helpful for, just general work and stuff, similar to Gravity, where it's like, if she trained her powers to lift more heavy things, then she could do similar things to Gravity, where it's like, I could just be helpful in construction of moving girders around and shit with my mind. But
yeah, or if she wanted to be a hero, that application of that power could be quite broken.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like she's, I can only move a pencil. It's okay, but that means you could instantly drive pencils through people's eyes if you wanted to.
Yeah, and that's like one of the things my hero's so good at, of like taking ostensibly silly powers and showing you how powerful they can be when used by someone who's clever, understands the mechanics fully, or showing you how really busted powers can be easily like taken down
and
by someone who's like smarter.
I am interested to get into this character, Hitoshi here, because like, just at no point does this sound like a bad power. It's not one of those powers where it's like, oh yeah, well, if you use it the right way, like Lemillion, then it can become busted, but people didn't see the potential. It's like, no, you can just control people.
Yeah.
That's never going to be a bad power.
It's like your purple man. And there's like one gimmick to his power, right, which we'll get to in a moment, but is there any like biographical stuff that is worth noting?
There is, yes. So the Ramaji name is Shinso Hitoshi. The alias, as mentioned, is Hypnosis Hero Nighthide.
Hypnosis Hero's real good. I do like a little bit of alliteration.
Mm-hmm. Their birthday is July 1st, and it doesn't appear to, on his biography, mention its favourite food, which just is a little quirk of like the little splash screens that my hero has. It's like always like their birthday and their favourite meal.
I've got to look up like the artist, so it's because the artist is absolutely fucking phenomenal. So it's Kohei Horikoshi.
Oh, nice.
And if anyone likes My Hero Academia, go look up the stuff that Horikoshi does for fun. Because like people have joked about like he'll tweet out, presumably not anymore because Twitter's like a cesspit, but on any social you can find him on. Well, it's like I drew fan art of this character. It's like, what do you mean fan art? It's your character. But some of like the artwork that they've drawn of just like, oh, here's some behind the scenes stuff. It's so the only issue is it's alive. You can feel the movement and the energy, and I'll try and find like my favorite example to put up on screen as you go through this wiki.
Well, it says their age is varying, of course, because there's multiple different periods of time throughout the show. The first appearance is when they are 15 in the final exams arc. Their gender is male. They are 177 centimeters tall, 5'10". Hair color.
Pretty tall.
It's about average height, right? Well, over in the UK is average height. In Japan, maybe above average by a little bit.
Maybe not in like Hero World as well. I'm thinking.
Well, like there's just
Hero
occasionally people that like the fucking gigantic dude that works for the bad guys, and he's like 50 foot tall, right?
Yeah. So I've just sent you like my favorite bit of just like Horikoshi art. Like he's not in. You drew his and posted like, yeah, I'm just drawing some shit. Like that looks so.
Oh my god.
How good is that?
Okay, yeah, I'm saving that image to put up. but if you could just talk for me 1 second.
No problem. Like the artwork in question concerns Rabbit Hero Mirko, who's one of my favorite heroes, and I think she's just Rabbit Virgil. And we've done an entire episode on Rabbit Virgil. People can go check out by just googling Wiki Weekends Mirko, Mirko,
Which is one of both of our favorite characters, even though they essentially do shit in like 3 episodes, but they are just the most like incredible hero, right?
Like Rabbit Virgil. Like they literally do a lunar phase, which is one of Virgil's moves. And then like named after Mirko Crocop, who's like the UFC fighter who has fucking special moves. Like he's like the UFC fighter who's like when you play as him in like those UFC games, it's like playing Street Fighter. It's like, why has this guy got fucking like Tatsumakis? He's that good. And like he has a saying like this like jokes like Mirko's all about kicks. Do you know what like Crocop's like saying is in regards to his kicks? It's like left leg hospital, right leg morgue. And that's what he talks about. Like, I kick you with the left leg, you go to the hospital. I kick you with the right leg, you go to the morgue. And he's not joking. Like, they've done like tests and that the dude could kill people with his kicks if he wasn't kicking like athletes as strong as he is.
Oh.
And you think, oh yeah, you know that like Mirko probably is a good name then for the Rabbit Hero.
Yeah. And one thing to mention here as well, when it goes back to Hitoshi here, is that they eventually, not to start with, but eventually their fighting style, they have a support combat binding cloth, which they get taught by the teacher whose name eludes me for a second.
It is Erasure, isn't it?
Which
is like one of the other most busted powers in the show.
Oh yeah,
his power is just you don't have powers anymore. So at that point, it's just a fist fight between 2 dudes.
As always. But yeah, Eraser is like just so good because
it evens every fight.
It literally one of the heroes that they like have as a crux in one of the most important fights in the entire show. Multiple of the most important fights, right?
He's the single most important part of every fight they do because like the only way they can beat some characters is by having him look at them. That was a point in the latest season. I won't spoil it, but they have another hero who's got a shit power of producing like a small stream of water, and all they do is stand next to him and put water on his eyes.
So that's their entire job. To blink, yeah.
Yeah, and they just have him there, and they have someone holding open his eyes as they constantly moisturize his eyeballs.
Yeah.
That's how important his power is.
But again, how good is that of like having them as a support hero for specifically him, right?
Yeah.
I guess that I'm useful because I can just stand here and make him never need to blink, which is the only downside to his power.
Because like you might think, well, blinking, you blink for like 1/4 of a second, but this is a world where people can like move at instantaneous speeds.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, so as long as this guy's looking at you, your powers don't work. So it's just a straight up fucking beatdown.
And then the moment your powers aren't working, he just gets you in the binding cloth and whips your ass.
Because at that point, it's just a fight between 2 people. And like most villains don't bother training their bodies because they rely on their powers, whereas he knows.
Especially like the Nomus, which are introduced later, where they're just basically near mindless beings with they're just running on pure like adrenaline and powers, right?
Yeah, until Mirko comes in, it's like, oh, they haven't got heads anymore.
But yeah, the binding cloth is just so awesome, and then the fact that it's like, oh well, you know, Hitoshi doesn't really have like much of a fighting capability because again he relied on his powers so much. But then, like, one of the things that Eraser knows is like, hey, what if you can't use that power? It's like, you need to have something else, right?
See, what I do is I give him a gun. Just give him a gun. Like that's the thing of like, I know it's like based on like it's like it is fictional future Japan and like gun ownership's like not really a thing over there. But give that guy a gun.
Yeah, I'd Master Elements chat, please do not spoil things. Like I know you're not specific with which character dies or anything, and obviously there are many deaths in the show, but like please no spoilers, anyone in chat.
We try not to spoil the latest season. That's why my minor spoiler is like, of course, Aizawa's going to be in the show because you need him for every big battle. Like every big battle's like, okay, what's he doing?
Mm-hmm. But I do love as well that in the first season, I think it is, when they invade, and he's like, "Don't worry, I've got this," and he takes out an entire group of people by systematically turning off their powers as he targets each one.
Yeah.
And he's
Or he'll turn off
he's
their powers as
just
their.
turning off their powers at small periods of time to take each one out.
But for like a split second, which is like you might not think that's a lot, but that's the equivalent of like, hey, someone's running really fast and just like putting a kick in on the back of the legs.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see a footballer get like tapped on back at ankle and they fly like 40 feet? That's what it's like. It's like, okay, they only lose their powers for a split second. That split second is enough to disorientate them.
Mm-hmm.
Same like Leon, isn't it? Where he only needs a split second to sneak up on someone and just get a sucker punch.
And again, like Hitoshi's power set here is interesting in the sense that even if you know what's coming, you still have to be on guard at all times, because later when they do like a training arc with all of the characters, they show off like the ability to use like a voice changer to mimic other people's voices.
Which is, as soon as he's got that, he's done. Game over.
So then he starts mimicking their teammates' voices, asking the questions like, "Oh, do you know where people are?" And the moment you're off guard and go, "Oh yeah," and respond, he then uses brainwashing quirk to take over. It's like,
yeah, and we'll clarify exactly how his
God.
power works in a second, because I have got some things to say about how busted this is.
Yes, and it talks about his personality, and he's just a very like stoic, straightforward person with an ability to spark conversation with anyone despite holding a reserved and quiet attitude most of the time.
Which is another thing they do in My Hero Academia, where people tend to have personalities reflective of their power sets.
Yes.
Or, in some cases, ironically, they have ironic personalities.
It's one or the other usually, of like, it's either directly related to their personality in the sense of it goes exactly with their type of personality, or it goes directly against the type of person that they are, right?
Like the invisible girl being the most outgoing, bubbly one. The girl that you can't see is the one who's constantly like always the one talking. Like she has to like when they do the room episode, which is really fun when you see everyone's room.
Yeah.
And her room's like all pink and colourful and has lots of mirrors in it, and it's like, but she's invisible and she has loads of different clothes. My favorite one about that is like the ninja dude with like the 8 arms. They go into his room and it's just the most default stock room. It's like,
oh god, yeah.
Is like I just train. Like all I do is train.
It says that Hitoshi is shown to be rather clever, knowing just the right words to manipulate others into replying to his comments, allowing him to activate his quirk.
He doesn't need to do that. He just needs to mumble. Like
what?
Yeah, done straight away. But I'm guessing like that'll be
that's something that technically wouldn't work, maybe
because they have to directly answer it, or they'll presumably will find out the limits to his powers.
But maybe this is the reason that they weren't on the hero course. Says due to having his brainwashing quirk perceived as evil throughout his life, Hitoshi has been somewhat feared by those aware of his power and has been discriminated against solely because of the quirk he was born with.
Which is accurate, because he does have, like, if you think about it for like 5 seconds, that is a power that could very, very easily be used for nefarious means.
Yes,
exactly.
And that is...
like, we'll keep it PG, and just like you could very easily convince people to like empty out their wallets.
Yeah, quite easily, and obviously,
or
like,
worse,
kind of has a lot of kind of problems with people perceiving him as evil and wants to become nothing other than a pro hero. And just like Deku does in that tournament arc with quite a few people, including Todoroki, that kind of convinces Shinso that, like, hey, you're awesome, you can use your powers for being a hero, don't worry about it, kind of thing. And
yeah,
that's kind of the spark that he really like gets behind to be able to try and drive towards becoming part of Class 1A or 2A.
Yeah, and that's one of the things as well the show deals with. It's like superheroes as metaphor, where they use the powers and like the absence of powers, or some people have powers that like transform their bodies as like an allegory for discrimination, much in the same way like the X-Men has always been seen as an allegory for discrimination, or like Spider-Man being an allegory for puberty and not feeling like you fit in.
Yeah, and like there's very much a reason where just it, you know, even shows off in Into the Spider-Verse quite well, of like Miles figuring out their power, of like looking at what happened to Peter as the exact same thing, of like a high school student trying to figure out basically going through puberty, which is getting his powers.
Yeah, but it's like his spider transformation is a metaphor for that, because back in the days of the 60s, you couldn't exactly say, okay, he's getting hair on his balls and he's starting to think about girls. It's like we have to be a bit more subtle than that.
Yeah, instead he's getting little spider hairs on his balls.
Yeah. And he's like, you know,
the sticky. Oh,
when he struggles with accidentally shooting out sticky white fluid.
yeah.
In the Tobey Maguire movies, right? Like, it's very obvious when you go watch that Tobey Maguire movie, and it's like Aunt May coming into his room. He's like, no, don't come in.
No.
Because he's like playing with his powers, right? It's like,
He's playing with himself and locking the door in his bedroom, and like I think it's the Andrew Garfield version where he has like the automatic lock on his bedroom door, and it's like, I get it, you're a superhero, but that was there before you got your powers, Peter.
That's his wanking alarm, isn't it?
But we'll go to the powers and abilities here. The overall abilities. Initially, Hitoshi lacked direct combat abilities, choosing to rely on the power of his quirk in battles.
Which is fairly standard, right? Like how many heroes and villains across, not even just My Hero Academia, overly rely on their powers. Which is something they talk about. It's like, that's why Aizawa's so strong, right? It's just like, well, okay, have you trained without your powers? Why would I? Well, you ain't got any anymore.
Yeah.
Do you not throw a punch? No, I do.
And it mentions a Razorhead here of just after deciding to transfer to the hero department of UA school, he underwent training by his mentor, Razorhead. That's where he learned to use his binding cloth.
Well, he essentially has the same power as Eraserhead, right? Where his ability is just he nullifies an individual, which is critical and cannot be overstated how important that would be in a scenario. Because, like, okay, All Might is super strong and he can save a lot of people, but if you, with the correct application of either of those powers, Aizawa's or this dude's, the villains don't become, they're not villains anymore.
It's just
like you just delete the problem.
Yeah, it is another one of those, like, it's a nullifying power set, right?
Yeah, which is so busted in a universe where superpowers are real.
And it does mention here that during the arc where he shows off his use of his binding cloth, he also shows off the voice modifying function of his artificial vocal cords, as well as his ultimate move, persona cords.
See, I do like that aspect of My Hero, which is another thing about superhero media they don't really delve into too much with. Like, okay, like Batman's got Alfred and he's got like Lucius Fox. Well, who's actually sitting down figuring this shit out? Like, Batman didn't aerodynamically design a bat throwing star, did he? He's too busy for that. Who figured that shit out? Someone had to say, no, you figured it out off screen.
Yeah.
But in My Hero, it's like, no, we have an entire department of the school whose only job is, here's a hero, here's how their powers work, figure something out to do with it, make them better, make them safer, make them better at their job, make them more efficient so they can save more people.
And they have that entire support course, right, where just all those people are learning how to do that. And the chat can maybe help with the name of that character as well, where just one of the best characters, I think, in the anime is the woman who is in the support course, who's like
the eyes,
really enthusiastically building all of Deku's gear and stuff. And
it's like Forge from the X-Men, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what that guy's doing.
And Mei Hatsume, I think, thank you for it, Dash. Appreciated. But it's like, it's such an interesting concept, and I kind of wish they would show more people from that support course, at least during like the earlier arcs where it's not
really
as serious and it's more, focused around like high school and stuff.
Well, it's like, as well, just the way that the fact they explain how like their equipment works, like with Bakugo.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like, okay, your powers are you have nitroglycerin sweat that you can explode, which is great, but you have to sweat for it to work. Wouldn't it be great if we just like, and that's what his suit is wearing, basically a thermal suit that makes him really hot,
and
so he sweats more.
He sweats more, but also the gauntlets that he has that look like awesome fucking grenades on his arms. Not only can they be like launched as weapons, they're there to store the sweat so that he's got like a build up of it and can use more of it when he needs.
Yeah.
And can become like fucking explosion tornado man.
Or like with like an engine, right? Where it's okay, we're going to build you a suit that can handle the speed at which you're running.
Or
you're running so fucking fast.
One of the kind of coolest upgrades for any of the characters is the guy that fires the lightning out of his fingers. And it's like, oh, we've given you like essentially targets to be able to shoot at and conduct the electricity so you can direct it rather than just exploding in all directions and harming your allies.
Yeah, it's just like lightning is very difficult to control. So if you just we're just going to do something that attracts the lightning. So throw this at someone, boom, done. Problem
And
solved.
that's one of the really coolest moments, I think, of the part where they are like storming the enemy base, where they're just, look, we are pro heroes, but we just need you for 1 second to be the opening gambit, where you just shoot lightning into an entire crowd of people, right?
Yeah, it's we can take care of this, but none of us have the ability. None of us have got like Miles Morales as level 3 of stuff.
Yeah, no, we don't have screen wipe powers. Can you just be at the front? We'll take out the one guy that nullifies your powers. You just launch lightning across the field.
It's like, how much super meter do you have, son? It's like, I've got a full bar. Save it.
You just get that level 7 on the go.
He's done it. It's like he's got 4 bars.
God. But the persona chords technique here, it says that using his artificial vocal cords, Hitoshi can modify his vocal tone to imitate the voices of other people, deceiving his enemies so they can respond and subject themselves to his brainwashing. And the way his brainwashing works is that you can ask them a question, and when the target like responds to his question, he then can take over them with brainwashing.
Which is super, like, just when someone knows that listen out for that, it's probably not as effective because you just don't answer him.
Yes.
But you can 100% see how, okay, we can't let someone with this power roam around and not have us know where they are, because that's Purple Man.
Because it's such a good, like, the brainwashing quirk is such a good quirk anyway, that even if you know what's coming, you have to be on guard at all times.
Like, if that dude wanted to be evil, he could basically just live a life where with no consequence, doing whatever they want. It's like, imagine that as like you're speeding down the street. Do you know why I pulled you over? No, why?
Well,
done.
Even in a fight, that if you know what his power set is, like, you still have to be on guard, because at any point he could, like, sucker punch you, just fucking do a taunt, do like you fucking show me your moves taunt, and the moment that you respond in any way to like just him jabbing at you, taunting at you, he wins.
See, I just like, all you need to do is just have him on a megaphone all the time, just asking the enemy of like, do you want some? Constantly over and over again. Just play it over a fucking microphone. That's
basically what he uses those like vocal cords for, right? Yep. Is that it's such a good upgrade to that character, because not only does he have that ultimate move of his persona chords where he imitates other people's voices, so he tricks you into answering like your allies' questions, but it's actually his. It's also just basically a voice amplifier, so that he can start shouting things across the entire training arena.
It also covers his mouth, so you can't see when he's using his powers. It's the same reason like Aizawa wears like the goggles, right? So you can't tell when he's looking at you, and which is like, that's why they're...
Can't tell when he's closing his eyes. You can't tell who's he looking at any one moment.
Or even if he has eyes. Imagine if that's like his powers didn't work with his eyes, and that was like just misdirection. What a flex.
That would be fucking incredible. Is that actually my eyes are in my knees and you never even knew it?
If like if Cyclops was like, I'm blind. Right?
But yeah, it's honestly like one of my favorite quirks of the show, and just that moment where it's like, okay, well, during the training tournament arc in high school, like the moment where Deku's like, okay, well, don't worry, I've got this, and I can't remember who he fights at first, but it's one of like it's one of the stronger heroes in the course, and he's just like, okay, quit. What? And they just walk out, and he's like, yeah, I'll win.
Done.
I'll win the fight. Just, I got you to ring yourself out. It's like, and he nearly does it to Deku as well, right? Of just
that guy could be like the greatest like boxer ever, of like just asking the opponent like, "Are you ready? Yeah, okay." Drop down to the ground. Done. And this like, go to a casino, right? What did I just get then? Like you busted. No, I didn't. Okay, here's your money. Done. Right?
Yeah. Right. Just, I mean. Dragon in the West with the super chat here, just asking a question that I'm really not familiar of, like, would it work on mute people, like if you only spoke ASL? And
It's unclear because like the mechanics of how his powers work with him not being a popular character have not been explored all that much. I'd imagine that it wouldn't because it specifically requires vocal recognition or acknowledgement because you have Deku, you have his internal monologue, right, where he thinks about not responding. So even though he thinks about responding, but because he doesn't vocally respond to the command, it doesn't work. So I imagine it's got a vocal component, and if you don't speak or don't have the ability to speak, then it wouldn't work on you.
Yeah, and it's confusing because like the way that it words in the wiki. Oh no, okay, yeah, no, I got that wrong. I misread it. It does actually say that they have to verbally respond to something that he says.
Yeah, so that's because you have in the manga and in the anime, you have the internal monologue of the person being spoken to by him. And if it was just you had to acknowledge his speech, you acknowledging it in your mind should work, right?
Yeah.
So otherwise,
yeah.
well, he wouldn't need to speak. He could just try and get your attention by waving, and that
Mhm.
would work. But it very specifically says he has to speak.
Yeah, verbally responds as say. So I guess it wouldn't work on you people. I again, as you say, like because they're one of the lesser used heroes in the show, that it doesn't really delve into that at any point, as far as I'm aware, at least.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's an interesting thing to think about with those kind of things. Like, yeah, just if you naturally have something that's, you know, an actual counter without meaning to be a counter, then it still works, I guess. And one of my favorite kind of, without really trying to spoil too much, it's like one of the earlier arcs, but in One Piece, there's a character that uses lightning powers, but Luffy's body is made of rubber.
It just doesn't work.
So it just doesn't work on him. It's like, yeah, of course not. He's made of rubber. It's not that his body stretches like it was made of rubber. His body is actually made like rubber. Like,
Yeah, so it just doesn't work. It's like this one comic where like Mysterio tries attacking Wolverine and Wolverine just punches him out. It's like, I can smell where you are, dipshit. It's like, I didn't. It's like, but you shouldn't be able to see where I am. It's like, I can smell you. Like, you shouldn't wear such shit cologne or something like that. It's just, yeah. Like, if your power primarily relies on overwhelming one sense, a character with a different sense or without, it's like, or Daredevil, right? There's that great comic moment where there's like, because he can hear through the walls. It's like, okay, so there's 6 people wearing night vision goggles hiding in my apartment to shoot me. Just turns the lights on. Just turns the lights on and walks
like,
in.
oh! And obviously that doesn't affect him because he's blind. So
can't
just
see.
like, yeah, the change in light doesn't affect him whatsoever. But you just got all these people, as you say, in night vision goggles. Like, that's just like being flashbanged, right?
Yeah, he just walks in and beats them all up.
God, that'd be terrifying if like. I can't imagine how bright things would be if you were night vision goggles.
Night vision goggles
turns
the
light on
the lights. And imagine as well how bright the lights in a blind man's apartment are going to be. They never get turned on, so they're probably going to do that thing where they're like, "Boo! Do we always turn your light on for a while?" Because they've never been used, so they'd be so fresh.
God. And it does say that with the brainwashing technique, Hitoshi can have multiple people under his control at once. However, he can only activate his power on one person at a time. So it's kind of, I guess, even slightly more impressive than Aizawa, where Aizawa literally can only target one person at a time. And like,
if he was cross-eyed, he could do 2 people, right?
Probably,
like,
yeah.
If Aizawa was boss-eyed, he could do 2 people at once. Well,
but yeah, it's like, okay, well, get villain A to respond, use brainwashing on them, then try my luck with villain B and C after that, right? So yeah, you could just... If everyone was stupid enough to keep responding, you could take over an entire crowd of villains.
Like, imagine if you became a politician. He'd win in a landslide, right? Of like, are you all ready? Yes, vote for me. Done. Speech over. 5 seconds. Done. Right?
But you'd have to speak to every person individually.
I don't know. Would it work if you just shout to a crowd?
Apparently not. You can only use his power on one person at a time.
All right. He's an idiot as well. Because you know what the question I'd use is, can you hear me? That's like the most... Like, that's all I'd do. It's like so obvious, right? If like, can you hear me? Yeah.
And that's what I mean about just having... Even if you know what his power is, you have to be on edge at all times. Because such an unassuming question can just immediately get you lost in a fight.
Well, it's similar, not similar, but it reminds me of something in Canada where they specifically had to change the law because like the whole joke about Canadians being so polite. Like sorry is so like just ingrained in like Canadian verbiage, and it's like just a colloquialism. It's just a thing people say. Oh, sorry. Like that they had to change the law because if you hit someone with your car, legally in most countries, if you say sorry, that's an acknowledgement of guilt. But in Canada, they had to change that because it's just such a natural thing for a Canadian to apologise, even when they're not at fault. We can't have them saying sorry as proof that it's their fault.
It's quite a common thing with British people, right? As well, of just the classic thing of just someone walks into you and you're like, oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's like, wait, why am I sorry? They fucking walked into me.
But like that was like the amount of things you could do, just bump into someone. It's like, you okay? Yeah. Give me your wallet.
And it says that they were initially unable to have victims do things that require some advanced brain function, like talking or writing a name from their memory. However, power creep.
But then as
basically,
well,
like the next couple of sentences, power creep.
Again, like that person could instantaneously become like the most sought after interrogator in the world, right? Because all you do is walk in. Are you comfortable? Yeah. Right. Where are the bombs? Go on. 1 second, right? Or you walk in and go, just like, can you just confirm your name for me? So your name is so and so. Yes. Okay. All right. Now tell me where you buried the body.
You've just reminded me of like one of my favorite moments in As Always Sunny, where Danny DeVito is just torturing Dee, and he's got like a cloth over her face and is like pouring water on her, and she, that basically simulates you drowning over and over again. It's awful.
It fucking sucks.
And he's like, admit it that you're working for these people. He's like, fine, yes, I admit it. I'll say whatever you want if you stop doing this. He's like, see, yeah, I can get people to say whatever I want. It's like, that's not the same as them admitting the truth.
Proof that it doesn't work, Danny. Which is, I guess, the joke they're making, right? Like, yes. Torture doesn't work. Like, fun fact, it doesn't work. It's like
the joke is literally that it's like, I will just say whatever you want me to say to get you to stop doing this thing right now.
Yeah, but people feel that it works. And it's like, there is a study that's been done of, if anyone's curious, like, okay, so what does work? Give the person, make them a better offer.
Yeah, normally like, just having a conversation and making a deal with them, right?
Make them a deal. And you might think, well, I don't want to make a deal with a criminal. It's like, but okay, but if you try to talk to them, you want some information out of them, right? So you clearly don't value that person's life all that much if you're willing to endanger them. So it's like there's a Rick and Morty bit about it, right? Where like it's just he's like Morty thinks he's torturing that guy, but he's actually like jerking him off.
Oh, he's an alien. God, yeah.
And Rick's like, he goes, I didn't know you liked this. He goes, well, how would it be different would it be better if you were hurting him? It's like, you just want the answers. You said you'd do anything to get answers, right? Is this not worth it?
Yeah. He's like, I guess it is, and continues, right? Like,
yeah, it's like, just make the person a better offer.
And it's why obviously it's portrayed in a lot of media, but it's also like a genuine like thing that's happened sometimes, probably not as much as it happens on TV shows or movies or whatever, but where it's just, look, you're a low-level criminal. If you make a deal with us and rat people out higher than you, we'll like let you go with a smaller sentence or whatever.
Just roll on your boss and we'll give you a good deal.
Mm-hmm.
That's 99%, and it works like so much more because, hey, Joe, what? Give them a good, like, if you give people, I'll pay them. That's another one.
Yeah.
Like, they just get so many terrorists and stuff to just quick, like, okay, we'll pay you. Because that's what, like, ultimately they're working for a paycheck.
Yeah.
And not, maybe not terrorists or like, ascribe to like for ideological means, but just.
Well, that's the thing is, it works most of the time, right? It doesn't work on everybody, but it's going to work on more than not.
Yeah. And people hate that idea. It's like, but okay, but so you draw the line. It's like the community bit, isn't it? It's like, well, I draw the line. I'm okay with torture, but I draw the line at treating them like humans. Like you're okay with torture.
I think it's like, I'm okay with racism, but I draw the line at animal cruelty. And then yeah, wait, you're okay with racism?
It's like that, but in regards to like a corporal punishment or whatever. It's like, if you think one thing is justifiable, surely paying the person money is as well, or being nice, or giving them a deal. Because the end result's the same, right?
Yeah.
The person no longer is a threat and you get the bigger fish. Maybe a great interrogator. Piece of piss. 1 second. Just would you like a glass of water? Yes.
Well, there is one thing that weakens them a little bit. And it
Which
does say
is
that using a megaphone or anything that makes his voice artificial will not allow his quirk to activate, as that said device would transform his voice into electronic signal.
you know what? I like that they thought about that. Of well, what about using a megaphone? It's like 'cause that's not his voice. That is an artificial facsimile of his voice created by electricity. So I'm guessing like a recording of his voice also wouldn't work for the same reason.
Yeah. So just anything that transforms a voice into an electronic signal isn't classified as their voice, therefore does not work. And I don't know what the difference is between like a megaphone and their vocal cord thing that they use, but it doesn't really matter.
It's transforming like the audio waves into a digital signal, which
Well,
is
I
then
guess like,
bigger audio waves.
but somehow their vocal cord, their artificial vocal cords, are not like changing it into an electric signal. They're just like changing maybe like the pitch and tone and stuff of the actual voice, but it's still their voice, right?
It's like it's
Similar to,
interesting.
I guess, like how, you know, helium and stuff like that, or like I can't remember what the one that like makes the frequency of your voice lower rather than higher, but yeah,
Testicles.
well, that's true. But there's also a gas that does it, but I can't remember what it is now. It doesn't actually like, it doesn't make the tone of your voice higher or lower. It makes like the frequency of your voice change or something. I can't remember.
Yeah. Have you ever seen that like great video of like we're going to get an orchestra or the brass band to take a shot of helium? It's really funny. So they get an entire brass band to inhale helium and try and play a note, and it's just it's fucking great. I reckon if anyone out there wants to laugh, go look up that video of like brass band takes helium, and every single person in there. I said, you think it'd sound the same but at a higher frequency, like you said, right? But no, just every single person, because it affects everyone's vocal cords differently. Every single person like plays the wrong note at the same time.
And it does have some stats here on the character, Karl. So we have an ultra archive and an ultra analysis, and I'm guessing that like one's pre-time skip and one's post-time skip or some shit like that.
Something Horikoshi likes to do is he does like to do like the little inserts and the addendums. Like I love like one of my favorite bits about the show and the manga is where they just do like the little splash screen, like the Borderlands intro for the character, which tells you what the power is.
Yeah, I love it because it just here's the character and it's just name, quirk, birthday, favorite food. Is it what a good way to just showcase a character in such a simple way of like. Obviously, the birthday doesn't matter that much, other than you being able to go like, "Oh, that character's got my birthday."
Yeah, well, I think it matters more in like Japan, maybe. Cause isn't the thing about like blood type in Japan's really important because there's not astrology, but something to do with maybe
it's
the
showcase of people's personality in Japan, right?
Like they see it as being they see it as being it can be reflective of your personality. And again, in regards to favorite food, that can also be an opportunity for some fun references to the character's personality or power set. For example, do you know what Todoroki's favorite food is?
Oh, isn't it like it's sober but not the spicy kind?
I think it's spicy sober cold. Like there's a kind of noodle you eat cold. He likes it spicy. And it's like
yeah.
So for reference, Todoroki has the ability to produce cold ice and fire. So his favorite food is spicy cold food. It's like that's cute.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna look up now some My Hero Academia characters' favorite food.
Excellent. Yeah, and I'll go through the Marvel power grid for Hitoshi over here, and they have a power, speed, and cooperativeness in the archives of a 1, but technique and intelligence of 4. And that's out of 5 to clarify. It's not out of like 7 like Marvel. So 1 out of 5 in power, speed, and cooperativeness, 4 out of 5 in technique and intelligence. But then in the analysis, out of 6 instead of 5, they've got a power and speed of 2, a wits of 4, and a technique and passion 5. So yeah, they've changed some of both the like stats and the scoring, but that's just like what we've got to work with here.
Yeah, and I do have now just a list. It's like a comic book resource CBR. I'm not sure what it stands for because they just changed to CBR at some point. I think it was comic book resources, but 10 like characters and their favorite food. He doesn't tell you what the meaning behind it is because presumably the author didn't want to look it up, but we can try and guess.
I guess so, yeah.
So I think an obvious one here, like Katsuki Bakugo, he likes spicy food. Anything
Yeah.
spicy. Pretty obvious, like he has
Explosive
spice.
powers, spicy food.
Yeah. Todoroki likes Zaru Soba, which is it's cold noodles served with spicy sauce.
Ah, okay, right.
Tokiyami, he's like the bird guy. Apple. He likes apples.
He's just a bird that likes apples.
Yeah, he just likes
Yeah.
apples. He doesn't mean he likes apples, but he also likes apple pie.
Oh, okay.
But just like I don't like the idea to do something very simple.
Yeah.
Mina Ashido, okra and natto.
I don't know what that is at all.
So he's made with fermented natto is made with fermented soybeans, so with rice and a few other ingredients. It is notorious for its sticky, slimy texture and strong scent.
So is that the slime girl?
Yeah, she's the acid girl. So it's like she's got powers based on bugs. She's got the slime, so she eats a food that is notoriously slimy and is a acquired taste.
And yeah, as you say,
I like that
not
kind
slime, but yeah, I like that.
Like, her design is fucking awesome.
Oh, it's sick, yeah.
Tenya Ayada is all about beef stew.
And who is that? Ida.
Ida, sorry.
Ida, yeah. So that's the fast man, right?
I've not seen it written down. At least I just know it. I just heard it when I was like, oh,
yeah.
Just regular old beef stew. Just something.
But he's like, you know, the one that's just the straight man, right? Of like he's ignium, but that his entire like personality is just like straight down the middle. I'm just sensible, man.
Yeah. Sue, frog girl, jelly.
Of course.
Frog spawn.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Frog spawn, which looks like jelly. And then Kaminari, the electric dude mentioned earlier. Hamburgers.
Oh, yeah, okay. And
a loud, explosive personality, rock music, inspired, right? And very American.
I was going to say he's like quite an Americanized character and design and stuff, right?
Blonde, loud music, rock and roll.
Mm-hmm. Got any more for any more?
That's just from that list, but I can like just go through a couple. Like, I can find some more if you like while we're going through it.
Well, okay. While you find that, I will just mention as well that it talks about their equipment here. We've obviously talked about like their binding bands, but it does mention that there are artificial vocal cords. I did make a mistake here. The only thing that it does is that it's a non-electric device that allows them to mimic other people's voices. It doesn't actually amplify their voice, so that's why it doesn't change it into like an electronic signal or anything. I got that wrong just from memory. Which is why we have the wikis here. That's why Wiki Weekends is helpful, right?
It is indeed, yes. So we've got a couple more here. Just like it's actually a cute little bit of artwork. I'm not sure who did this, but like good for them. Who is it? Uravati. She likes mochi, which is mochi.
Oh,
very
mochi.
light, very fluffy, colourful. Big pink fluffy ball. Kind of makes sense, right?
I love just watching videos of like it comes up on my TikTok feed all the time of like people making mochi just because of how like stretchy and satisfying it is. Oh
yeah. So Momo, the girl who can create anything. T.
Oh, again, just another like
you have to
very
slowly
straightforward down the like middle character of like it's a very like more basic treat that again quite reflective of just like how kind of regular a personality they have.
Yeah, Red Riot, is that his name? Like the guy who turns like just rock the red dude.
Red Riot, yeah.
Yeah, I was just trying to think, is that his hero name? Skewers, which I think you can see that like tough bits of meat it's like pierced by a sharp implement. Yeah. His power is like ironic. His power is that you can't stab him.
Yeah,
which I think is quite fun, right?
The good old Rocky skin. I love that guy. I love the moment in the tournament arc where just he finds out there's a guy made of steel. And they just have the rivalry of like who can be the literal more hard man.
Like, that guy's like name is fantastic as well because I think it literally his full name literally translates to steel.
It's like Tetsu, right?
Yeah,
and it's like just steel.
So that man is fucking steel to the core.
Oh god, and we'll actually talk about someone that you've mentioned a couple of times, Karl.
Okay,
when we go into the trivia here. It says that Hitoshi's purple hair and mind control abilities may be a reference to the Marvel comic supervillain, the Purple Man.
It does sound like that would be kind of on point, right?
He's like a very like stoic guy with kind of purple hair, purple eyes, that like kind of keeps himself to himself and basically has the purple man's ability.
Yeah, I did look it up as well. Rabbit Hero Mirko likes carrots.
Oh, of course, yeah.
So that's the thing. If you're a rabbit-based superhero, you either love carrots or you fucking hate carrots.
Or you're called Carrot, like in One
Yeah.
Piece.
It's like Gorilla Grodd. Like Gorilla Grodd, the gorilla like villain from DC, fucking hates bananas. And the one thing that can guarantee that he's going to go into a blind like ape rage is asking if he wants a banana.
It does also say, furthermore, upon the reveal of his hero costume, Hitoshi's pose while dangling from his binding cloth strongly resembles Spider-Man, and I have not seen him in like his full hero costume with that, so excited to see that one out finally.
It's Horikoshi, right? It's just the dude fucking loves doing those references.
And a cool thing about his name here with this trivia is Hitoshi's name is comprised of the kanji for heart, mind, is shin, and manipulate, operate is so, and person, so, and you. So essentially means like mind, manipulate, person, use is their name.
That's the thing is there's so many neat things about the characters in My Hero, even like these side characters when we get like a couple of like episodes or like pages of play where their name, their favorite food, their power, their personality is all reflective or representative or referential to each other.
Mm-hmm.
It really makes the world feel more alive, and like the characters, even the ones when we get like a little bit of screen time, really do feel like characters who live in that world. That's like Rabbit Hero Mirko. She's on screen for like 5 minutes. She's like
she's like the coolest fucking character in the show
because she feels like a real. You feel like she's been off doing adventures and shit off screen because she feels like a real person, a real hero lives in that world.
100%, yeah. And you know, speaking of like kind of proving that point, just in popularity polls, they've ranked 10th, which is the highest they've ranked, but twice they've ranked 10th in the popularity polls of all characters in My Hero.
Like again, that's meta. Like it's fittingly meta because their like whole thing is that they want to break into like the top 5, right? And we get into the top class. They're in the top 10, but only just.
Yeah, so
never like, any higher than that.
They've ranked from 10th down to 23rd, depending on the popularity poll. But considering they're a character that is like not even in one of the main 2 classes to begin with, and things like ranking 10th in a popularity poll is pretty fucking strong considering.
It's probably better than Deku is. Doesn't Deku always like right down the bottom because no fucker likes him? Is anybody like Deku?
I think Deku's more popular than you think, but
he's
never on like Bakugo or Todoroki level, right?
So I think we had this conversation before about Pikachu, where I said I misspoke and said nobody likes Pikachu. What I meant to say is Pikachu is nobody's favorite Pokemon. People know people like Pikachu.
It's one of those of like a lot of people you will speak to in your circle might not say that Pikachu's their favorite, but it's one of those classic things of there's a lot of people that will just straight up listen to Pokemon marketing and be like, my favorite Pokemon is Pikachu, Charizard, or Mewtwo.
Oh, okay. Because I was thinking that if you ask those people, it's like, is it that it's the favorite Pokemon, or is it just the one they recognize the most, and they don't see they can't differentiate between that? So like My Hero, like people probably say, oh, I like Deku. It's like, but is he your favorite? Like if you were asked to like pick your favorite character, would it be Deku, or would it be one of the other characters who's not a fucking goober?
Yeah. And I definitely think like Deku is more popular than you think because again, a lot of people just like being marketed to and like the thing they see on screen a lot, but
yeah, he hasn't even got an interesting design. That's the thing as well. His design is deliberately like every manish, right? He has like a generic anime protagonist, and he would be the most generic one in the show if it wasn't for Ida, because he's literally just he was straight from like a school anime, right?
Yeah. Apart from he's got giant fucking like engine blocks coming out of his legs,
Got rocket feet.
I
it's
love
so
that
when he figures out his power.
It's so good when just not the design of like the Flash where it's just person that runs fast. It's like no, he's got fucking engines on his legs.
Yeah, like the bit where he's got to like pull them out.
Yeah.
Like But again, that's like how you get stronger, right? When you get stronger, it's your muscles literally tear and repair themselves bigger. That's how people get bigger muscles. So it's just visually representative of that, of like he's strengthening his legs, which hurts because you are literally tearing your body apart to be rebuilt stronger.
They are. And just before we move on, Carl, to like a break and housekeeping and all that, you
Yes.
get another lovely super chat from Dragon in the West once again. So it says that their power might work with one of those cone megaphones lifeguard use, where it's not like the electrical ones, just like literally a cone to
Yeah.
just like shout your voice through, right? Like they
Presumably
just
you just shout
your
really loud.
voice. Yeah.
Let's say if you're like at a rock concert, it's like, are you ready to rock?
Mm-hmm.
Done.
And there's more
See,
money from across the pond. Cheers, Maddie. Appreciate it.
That is appreciated. Thank you. You know what you need though? Like, do you know the whole thing about Bakugo? People don't know Bakugo. The reason his powers work the way he does is because his dad has the explosive sweat, and his mum has glycerin sweat. And when they got together and had a baby, their baby was born with glycerin explosive sweat.
Yeah, it's exactly what happened with Todoroki, right? I've just
Fire and ice.
Fire and Ice were just he's got so many siblings because they kept having kids until he just had, they literally had like a marriage to try and make a child with Fire and Ice perfect power set.
Yeah, so it's like he needs to get together with, I don't care what the mechanics are, that hero who when they is it onomatopoeia? When they like do the giant fucking word blocks.
Yeah.
They need to get it on with them. So it's a question you can't ignore because it'll be big. It'll walk to your front door and knock on it.
Yeah, so there's a character that's only in like one episode where they essentially shout captions and giant like comic book panels will like basically drop out of thin air and just land in the middle of actual like space and time. Just they create giant onomatopoeic words.
Like they say like concrete or something, and the word concrete and the louder they say it, the bigger the word is. So when he screams the word concrete, just concrete in kanji appears and drops down made of concrete. Combine their two powers.
And you can just be like, are you okay?
Like I said,
oh yeah, I'm fine.
The words themselves would materialize, literalize in our world, then knock on your front door and ask you that question.
But dear, oh dear, Karl, we will just take a quick break and we'll go grab like get a new drink and that. So we'll just be a few minutes.
No problem.
And we can get on to housekeeping and your wiki, which the thumbnail is like giving away a little bit.
He's so scary. He's so bold.
And you know, just while we take a quick break, everyone, if it would be, you know, partial to you, please give us a like and try and help share the video. Appreciate it. But now we will get Zelda while we're taking a quick break.
Back in a sec.
Oh, we are coming back.
I was the one taking a sip of water then.
Oh, there we go. But yeah, before we get on to your wiki, we should have some housekeeping to get on with, right?
We do. We've got to announce which wiki won this week. So I don't believe it shifted since like you put the poll up. The look, no. So the wikis that we had last week, for anyone curious who didn't tune in,
it did shift, but you just got more votes and I didn't.
Well, you spoiled it. The winner was me, and the wiki I brought for that week was 1992 in gaming, in reference to Lucas. Like Lucas was born in the year 1992. We're both big fans of gaming, so we went through that wiki. And that narrowly edged out Lucas's wiki of Gen 3 of Pokemon. And as a reminder, you can vote on this episode for which wiki you thought won this week. And be sure to vote on the wiki you thought brought the best discussion, not the one that is necessarily on the subject you enjoy the most, because there might be more. What was up?
So as I just put the music on for break, I had to change my headphones because again, like audio settings and stuff, so it just stopped recording while we were on a break there. So it just will be 1 second where I'm not recorded on the audio version. That should be able to be synced back up now, but you didn't miss much. You just missed Karl starting out which wiki won this week, which was Karl's discussion.
Yes. Do you want me to do that again just for the audio version? Because I guess video people saw it happen live.
It's
What's
okay.
great for that?
Audio people can just know that Carl's wiki will not.
Okay, well, they missed a really funny joke, but it's fine, whatever.
I'm sorry, I was a bit
I'm
distracted
kidding.
because I was clicking on things and making sure that everything was okay, and then realised it wasn't.
Oh, so that's like the last bit of housekeeping besides what, Lucas? So,
Well, there's also, Carl, you haven't mentioned the fact that you've got your birthday bash that we said we'd give more information on.
there was not really much more information to give besides I'll be streaming on Friday. It's my
Well,
birthday on the weekend.
there is something else that the video people didn't get to see, Carl.
Oh yeah, it's the little thing is that's just the one I had last year, but I edited it to remove the date. Because it still said Friday on it, but it had the date of last year. Because I think last year February 2nd was on a Friday, which is my birthday, February 2nd. But this year, like February 2nd's a Sunday, and I'm not streaming on a fucking Sunday because I've got work on Monday.
Yeah, fair. Wait,
Unless
why
we're not
is it-
having work on Monday.
There we go. It put up a picture of Gwen Stacy by accident for a second, but Carl's birthday bash, as you can see right here, is just for the audio listeners. It's just a rainbow background that just has Senator Armstrong and Carly Rae Jepsen with little birthday hats on it.
It's just like if you watch my streams, you'll know the context. If you don't watch my streams, why not come check out the stream and find out the context? Grab a drink and celebrate my upcoming 34th birthday.
You don't need to be so
mate.
sad, Carl.
I'm with 34.
You're in your 30s, it's fine.
It's fine. I don't think I feel great. It could be worse. Like last year, the stream was to celebrate the end of Fact Fiend. Then Fact Fiend came back. It's like, yeah. I'm never. That channel will never fucking die, and I will never escape it. I'm never allowed to.
There's still comments on like newer videos because obviously, like I check the comments and check videos out and stuff, even though I'm in a lot of them. But yeah, just there's still comments now. I'm like, I thought the channel ended. It's like it did.
And then I got a mortgage.
And Carl decided
to
give more money.
People are never going to find out why it ended, and never going to find out why it came back. It's all part of the mystery.
You've literally spoken about it and just said you were stressed at the time, and then it's like, I'm not stressed anymore.
Well, they'll never know the source of the stress.
It was me.
It was Lucas. It definitely was.
It wasn't trying to buy a fucking house.
It was a lot of things in tandem. Just hammering away at my balls, and I wasn't happy about it. It was not a good time for a 33-year-old Karl. So you know what? Being 33 fucking sucks. Being 34, bring it on. I can't wait.
Oh god. I mean, you know, being 33 is mostly good because Wiki Weekends happened. Well, Wiki Weekends continue to happen.
I say Wiki Weekends when I was 32. Being 32 was great. 33, fuck that year. 2024, eat a dick.
You know, we've had our most successful videos over the past, like, 2024 year, so...
Okay, start of 2024, eat a dick. Specifically, like, the 4 days that really put me over the edge. Those days...
Anyway, Carl, let's move on to your wiki and not get drowned in this.
It's more because I know I'm causing some mystery.
No, Carl, let's not talk about that mystery. Let's talk about a different mystery, and that is the man himself.
That is the man who wants you to commit crime. And the thing is, though, like we joked earlier in the video that the person we're about to cover might be more powerful than a literal superhero from a superhero anime. I'm not joking, because the subject of my wiki is Derren Brown. And the wiki we're specifically referring to is a list of Derren Brown shows. So Derren Brown, for anyone who doesn't know, like Lucas, do you want to just describe who Derren Brown is?
Derren Brown is like I don't even know how to describe him. He's like
it's difficult, right? I've got the word here. He describes himself. Yes, he's definitely entertaining, but he specifically describes himself as a psychological illusionist.
Okay, right, yeah.
But like more specifically, if you want like a classical definition, he's a mentalist or an illusionist.
Mm-hmm. But it's weird because at the same time, a lot of the stuff that he does is like putting on shows, making TV shows, stuff like that. So a lot of what he does is also in that category, as I mentioned, of like entertainment more than it is necessarily like illusionist.
And like he's done a lot, like so much, in fact, that I really can't describe him. So I guess like that's why we've got the wiki in front of us now. So Derren Brown is as mentioned, psychological illusionist, and he has various stage and television shows. Here are the list of them. So they started in 2003 with Derren Brown's Mind Control, and it started all the way back in 2000.
Oh,
So
okay.
he's been doing this for 25 years, and his background, he's a mentalist, he's illusionist, he's a sleight of hand magician. He's just an incredibly smart and fascinating man. And the gimmick of a lot of the shows that he does is he combines otherwise like nefarious tricks, like similar to the hero you covered, where the things that he does could be used for evil, and in many cases are. For example, cold reading is often used by people who claim to be able to contact the dead.
Yeah.
And there's a really great episode of his show, and all of his shows can be found for free on YouTube. So if you're listening to this and you like, oh, I like Derren Brown, fun fact, all his stuff's on YouTube. He posts it all for free on there. If any of this stuff sounds interesting to you, you've never heard of him before, go check it out.
It's fascinating stuff, and there is like I should probably going to mention, there is a special that he did talking about psychics and basically, going through all of the bullshit that they do and trying to like reveal their techniques, because he doesn't like the fact that those people use those techniques to try and manipulate money out of people.
Yes, and the reason that episode is fantastic is because he's better at the tricks than the medium is. And you see in real time the medium he's working with get pissed off that he's better at reading people. Like, for example, there's one where like the mentalist, like no, like not the mentalist, the medium, like does the reading on the person. And the person's like, wow, that's really good. How do you know all that? And Derren Brown's like, well, I don't have any powers. I've just met you the same as this guy has. And he goes through his spiel, and it's like 15 times more detailed. And then he explains in excruciating detail how he did it, how he came to that conclusion, how he was able to do it. And you see the mentalist, like the dude who's getting stood up, get really fucking irate that he's better than he is.
There's one great moment in that show where the one of the psychics that he talks to and does, demonstrations with and stuff, it's like he gives a reading on this woman, and he finds out like what her car is.
Yeah,
and she's like, oh my god, like he knew that I was driving like this color Mini or whatever it was. And it's like, okay, so how did you know that about the woman? He's like, oh, just, I felt it, I resonated with her so much, and blah blah blah. And then it's like, well, actually one of our assistants saw her drive past you while you were on the phone outside before the show.
The thing that's really great about that one is it's clearly, obviously, that dude is a fucking con artist.
Oh, yes, yeah.
He's an absolute just piss take merchant. And the people that he goes to speak to wouldn't notice this, but you do in the episode, because every time he goes into a new person, and clearly as well, he got wise to it, because it becomes really obvious what he's doing when he does it 5 times on the bounce every time they visit a new person. The first thing he asks every time they go into a new person's house is, do you mind if I use your bathroom? Which is a reasonable question to ask, right?
Of course, yeah. Like, they've probably been traveling, etc. But yeah.
Every single time without fail, he goes to the bathroom and he takes just a little bit too long. And he's like, I wonder what he's doing upstairs. Is it looking at family photos and checking inside cupboards and stuff to see, like, get any information that he can? Or, like, just doing a quick Google on his phone of checking, like, Facebook and stuff.
Presumably, like, very good at that point of just only needing 2 minutes to do a very quick, like, scan of a couple of rooms and just pick out a couple of little small details that, will be the things that push people over the edge.
It's not like Derren Brown talks about when he's doing it, of like, it is a skill. It did take me years to learn, but when you're really good at it, it's all you really need to be good at is reading people. And people generally hear what they want to hear. And all you need to be good at is just asking very open to interpretation questions and then seizing upon the person when they hear what they want to hear.
Yeah,
like, for example,
and then kind of as well, just also ignoring things that you get wrong and doubling down on the things that you get right.
Yes, like singling on those. And or like an example that he used that really stuck with me is just you ask a question that sounds really specific, but is actually really broad if you think about it. For example, Lucas, I'm getting a reading from you that you are quite an open person, but you like to keep your privacy.
Yeah,
is that can describe anybody, right?
Yeah.
But what you ask a really broad question like that, and the person will respond. Presumably they say, "Yeah, sometimes like," or you just ask them like, "Okay, I sense that like something's gone wrong recently," which is of course something's gone wrong. They're talking to a fucking psychic.
similar to like, oh, most people go to a psychic so that they can like reach out to a person like that they've lost contact with or has passed away or whatever, and it's like a lot of the time they just open with a vague question of like, so I'm getting the feeling that you're like wanting to talk to maybe like a close friend or a close family member.
Yes.
And he's like, well, yeah, no shit, Sherlock. But they use
Well,
that in a way that's like, oh, yeah, how did you know that that's the person that, like, how did you know I was coming to talk to a family member today?
yeah, and obviously as well, we have to give shout outs to just that like 2 hour long video of psychics fucking up on live TV.
I've not seen.
There's a 2 hour compilation of psychics just fucking up, and it's glorious. It never gets old.
And the reason that Darren Brown goes so hard on these people is because you're not only conning people out of money, he's like, whatever, people do that all the time. It's like, you're emotionally manipulating these people who are very vulnerable and like
You're exploiting people's grief.
yeah, literally, you are just, I should say, exploiting people's grief, and he doesn't like that aspect to it. He's like, there's, a billion things that I could expose and use my time to talk about, but very much, ires him the fact that people are using their skills that they've learned to abuse people in this way, like, and take advantage of these people.
Like one of the things that a really poignant quote he makes about that episode, or in that episode, is like, not only is it offensive to like the person's, like, it's not only is it disrespectful to the person, it is like just horrible to the dignity of the deceased.
Yes,
like you're robbing the dead of their dignity by putting words into their mouth. It's like, let people grieve the way that they want. But we'll go back to like the actual full list of stuff that he did now. So let's start with mind control. There's not much information about this besides the fact that it was a combination of like footage he'd already shot previously.
Right. Okay.
Now with new stuff, so he did his like psychological stage show, and they just like got footage from that. The first thing he did that was like purpose made was Trick of the Mind. So that was the title for Brown's next series, ran for 3 consecutive series. Unlike Mind Control, it's all completely new material. It doesn't really say much about it, besides singling out a single episode, which is noted as being very interesting, which is the Waking Dead episode. And this is why I think this guy has superpowers. So, in an episode first broadcast on Friday, the 6th of May, 2005, Brown claimed to have created a video game called The Waking Dead, which is, and I quote, able to put roughly 1/3 of the people who play it into a catatonic trance, because he's also an expert on hypnosis. The video game is then placed into a pub. Brown then kidnaps the catatonic victim and places them in a real-life recreation of the video game, having him fire a paintball marker at actors pretending to be zombies. And he's that good at hypnotizing people, the dude thinks this is really happening to him.
Yeah.
And you might think, like, maybe this is all, like, made up for TV. We're only in 2004. He has done way more crazy bullshit than this.
Yes, and one thing that I did go to see a stage show of his.
Which is fantastic, right?
Yeah, it was one of the most fascinating shows I've been to, and I always had that skepticism of like, well, surely there's bits of the stage show
everybody does, right?
That's what out or edit around and stuff. It's like, nope.
It's one of the things I've heard about everyone who's gone to see him live, and it's one of the things I want to go see him live. Every time I hear, so like, it's exactly what you said there. Of like, I always assume there's got to be something to it. It can't be as it is on TV. It must be edited. They went to see the stage show. I was like, no, he's that good.
Yeah, it's just as you would expect from watching like the recorded version. It would seem as though when you're watching it, like, surely there's like some stooges that they put in the stage, and obviously you can't definitely say that, but
which
does a lot of things to like pick people out of a crowd as randomly as possible, like throwing shit into crowds and stuff, and getting people to pass things around and things like that. So
this is like, a guy who's an expert at both sleight of hand and reading people.
Yeah,
and he's and the fact that he's very open about what he does, ironically, means that it's very difficult to ever tell if he's telling the truth.
Yeah,
because the fact that he tells you how the trick is done means that he's only telling you the part that is obvious.
You're only hearing about the part he wants you to hear about, right?
Which is what makes him such a compelling entertainer. Also, I really like his voice. The reason I wanted to talk about him is because I was like looking for stuff to put on in the background as I try to sleep. Wait, Darren Brown's got every single one of his episodes of his show and all the different stage shows he's done just on YouTube for free. And just his voiceover is very soothing. He has a very soothing voice.
He does.
And he's very funny.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's a great episode where it's like he doesn't want people to know that he's there. He says, "Yes, I'm here though, in my minor celebrity disguise." And he just cuts to him wearing like a hat and sunglasses. We then move on to Trick or Treat in 2007. Trick or Treat started airing on Channel 4 in 2007. The focus of the show is that one volunteer receives either a good experience or a bad experience, a trick or a treat. I guess a treat or a trick. The experience the volunteers receive is decided by which card they choose. If they choose a card that says trick, they receive a bad experience, and you could probably surmise the rest. In the first series of Trick or Treat, the volunteer had no choice over the matter as the cards were ambigrams, and that's the word used for words that are written but can look different depending on the perspective you have on them. So from one perspective, it might say trick. From the perspective of Darren, it might say treat. It's really interesting.
Essentially, it was kind of, I could say it's one or the other and you would believe it either way.
Yeah, you can read it as both trick and treat depending on the perspective you're looking at it, and it's only Darren who knows which one you chose for sure. And we have some examples of the tricks or treats that he's done because they are fascinating. Because he is able to manipulate, hypnotize, and otherwise just get people to act out of character. And he's done a lot of cool shit using this concept, and I would recommend watching every episode of it he's done because they're all fascinating and compelling.
I can't remember which special it is or which program it is where there's one part of like essentially the audition process where he puts a bunch of actors in like a room and they're all pretending to be auditionees, but only one person at a time actually is legitimately there to audition.
Yeah.
And it's just basically, will they follow the rest of the crowd without question?
Well, that's one of the other things he does as well, because he's an expert on psychology. He also does like little filler bits for his shows. It's like he was going to demonstrate some psychological concept, like he said there, like the bystander effect or the bandwagon effect of we've got a bunch of people in a room, like he said. Just one person here is legit a member of the public. The rest are actors that I've told what to do. And it's stuff like if I tell them all to like just stand up when I think one that I remember is we've got a bunch of people in the room. I think it's like 90% actors, 10% real people. And every time a buzzer beeps, the actors stand up.
Yes.
And when it beeps again, they sit back down. And then over the course of like an hour, he filters all the actors out of the room. And it's only filled with members of the public who are now standing up when the buzzer goes and sitting back down without ever actually being told to do that.
If you see at the start, the people who aren't in on it kind of like look around and are like, the fuck's going on? Like, what? Okay, maybe I guess I'll stand up, or some of them don't. And then it happens again. And then the people who don't stand up are like, oh, maybe this time I should get up. Oh, fuck. Yeah. And like, as you say, it just becomes a room of people that were never instructed to do this. But just because everybody else in the room was doing it, they're now in this pattern.
And that's one of the things that he likes to do to demonstrate how his shows works. It does seem quite fantastical what he's able to do. He's like, well, people are suggestible and they can be manipulated into doing things that they otherwise wouldn't do or think they wouldn't do. And like one of the things he talks about that I find interesting is when they get asked, like, so who are the easiest people to hypnotize or convince to do something? It's the people who think they can't be hypnotized. Because they're so convinced they can't be hypnotized, they only look out for the obvious stuff. It's the subtle stuff that gets them.
Yeah, I was really upset when like he did that moment in the live show where he's like, I'm gonna, settle you all down. I'm gonna like pick out some people from the crowd who are more susceptible, and he goes through like a bunch of different things where he like gets everyone to like watch a video, get into a relaxed state, and then like tries to manipulate and hypnotize an entire crowd at one go, and it's like, oh well, who did this work on? Put your hands up, and I'll pick from those people, and it didn't work on me, and I was sat there like, God damn it! I really would have liked it to have worked on me.
You'd like to be in the show, but also it's probably good to know that you're not that susceptible, which ironically would make you susceptible to the shit he won't tell you, the secret shit he's not allowed to do, because it'd be evil. But we now move on to Lucas. So the first episode was a trick. So the subject is put into a catatonic trance in a photo booth in London, and over the next 13 hours, he's transported to Marrakesh, Morocco. He wakes up in a photo booth in the back of a cafe near the main square. So he just sends the guy to a foreign country.
The dude.
Yeah. Next episode, Trick. The subject participates in a ventriloquism show where he becomes bound to the dummy. When the dummy is put into a trunk, the subject finds he cannot see.
Oh, God.
The next episode, though, was a treat. A novice elderly lady is taught how to read bluffs and play poker. After a single week's practice of Darren's tutelage, she takes part in a tournament with professional players and is only beaten by a fluked final hand.
And that's another one of his shows where that was fascinating, is the show where he like makes somebody bet their savings on a roulette spin.
Yep.
And he's like, yeah, so I've practiced at like learning what number a ball is going to drop out on a roulette wheel.
Yeah, that one's so mean because then he tells him how he actually did it. And the guy's like, wait, what? So we'll get to that when we get to it, because that one I'll watch and it's like, no. But the next episode was a trick. The subject is kidnapped in a London taxi cab and then becomes a street madman. Because he just makes the guy not be able to speak English anymore, so everyone thinks he's insane.
Oh my God.
Next episode. Well, that's the thing. They signed up for it, and that's the thing. He says they all signed up for it, and even the ones who get something bad, it's like, even though it's bad, they'll still use it as a learning experience. And he always tries to add like a little bit of messaging to it, but it's also very funny. So it's the classic thing with the hypnotist, right? Like buckaw like a chicken on stage. You're just taking that to its like logical extreme. The next episode was Treat. The subject is taught to play the piano and gives a professional standard recital within weeks. It later
that sounds like a trick, right?
Yeah.
Just like a public performance.
The thing is, though, that could be a trick, though, right? Where it's like, don't worry, I've taught you how to play piano. It won't be embarrassing. Actually, no, I've not. Wait, what? It turns out that the lady had played piano earlier in her life, but Darren Brown had used his hypnotism to make her forget it and then retaught her so that she rediscovered her joy of playing.
It's insane that anyone has the ability to do this shit. Yeah.
Next episode, Trick. The subject is put into a trance and wakes up at the scene of a staged road traffic accident in which she sees herself dead in a car.
What?
He made her think she was dead.
Thought she was having like an out-of-body death experience.
Next episode, Treat. The subject is taught a technique of speed learning and then spends a week scanning hundreds of books in preparation for a Night of the Champions pub quiz. And this one's amazing because if anyone's not been to a pub quiz with like people who take pub quizzes seriously, they're all assholes. They're like the most up their own ass dickhead. They are so up their own ass. And Darren Brown gets this one guy who's like, I'm not very good at quizzes. He teaches him like every book in a library in a week, and he enters the quiz, and his quiz name is just Dave. And like he just keeps winning, and you see the other pub quizzes like going. They get really mad because they think he's cheating. He's like, no, he's cheating. He's like, no, I'm just that good. And they ask you, how do you know? I was like, I don't know.
I still remember there was a pub quiz that we stopped going to, and it was legitimately funny because it was just a few teachers from our high school that just went every week to get their round paid for, and they were legitimately like nice about it. They weren't those like knobhead arsehole teams, but it was just because there was like 6 different teachers that all taught different subjects. They had such a good knowledge pool to pull from, so they just won every single week and just like got hammered and bought us drinks and stuff.
The problem is like when you meet the people who take pub quizzing seriously, they're so annoying, and just that episode's fantastic to watch. So cathartic to see all the other pub quizzes there getting really mad that he's winning, and he only loses. He comes second place, only losing to 2 teams who both tie for first place on his own.
Just Dave.
Next episode, Treat. The subject is shown a kitten in a metal cage and told that it will be electrocuted if she presses a button. The subject will win £500 if she stays in the room for 5 minutes without killing the kitten. Darren uses negative suggestion to force her to press the button at the very last second.
But she's like horrified with it. She's like crying and hates the fact that she didn't want to do it. And even though she sat there going, there's no way I'm going to do it. There's no way I'm going to kill a cat.
That's what Darren says. Like, okay, all you need to do is sit here for 5 minutes. Because this episode as well is really fascinating to watch. It's just, he says to the lady, like, if I ask you, Luke, like, sit down in this room, don't press this button, you get £500. What does the button do? A dog will die. You're like, oh, piece of piss, right? But he's so good.
I'd never do it, but Darren Brown could probably get me to do it, right?
Darren Brown convinces the lady to press the button, and she does it the last, and she starts crying. She says, I don't know why I did that.
Mm-hmm.
But then Darren comes in and says that the cat is still alive and you still get the £500. The treat is that the subject would always think back to that moment if they were ever being negative in future. So basically, he transforms her entire like way of looking at life.
I would also be like, fuck you, Darren, that's not a treat. I thought I killed a cat.
Well, he changes her way of thinking, like, and that's one of the things, like, when we get to the episode, like, Darren Brown literally changed the way I think about the world. Like, I'll credit him with that, but we've still got more to cover. Trick. This one's rough. The subject is taught an ancient technique of how to get free from complicated, risky situations. Subsequently, they're tied with their hands and feet, inserted into a sack, and are thrown into a lake. He did teach them the technique, but the person is scared, they're claustrophobic, and don't like water. So it's like, you can see that as being a positive thing, like they conquered their fears, but
also, fuck you, Darren.
Darren Brown makes them do it. Treat.
Oh.
The subject is put through a round of speed dating where his shyness and lack of confidence clearly hold him back. Well, obviously the answer there is just be an arsehole and go on to like men's rights subreddit, right? No, Darren Brown's got a better idea. He puts the subject through a series of exercises and visualizations to build the subject's confidence. The subject is then put through another round of speed dating where many more women place him on their would like to meet again list. And he even proactively begins dating one of the interested women.
Yeah, and I'd like that's a really good kind of way to just showcase the fact that most people just find confidence attractive. Like,
yep.
It sucks to say, because I get it. Like, I've had plenty of time in my life.
It really sucks when someone's like, confident. Be confident. How? Be confident.
Yeah, like my confidence over the years has been on a roller coaster. You know what I mean? But it's true. People find confidence attractive.
Yeah, and it says here that he even tests how confident he is. Like, when, you know, is this a temporary thing? So what he does, he stages a robbery in a shop when that guy's in there with his new girlfriend, and the guy steps in and stops the robbery because he's now more confident and assertive. And it's like, and he says to the guy, you know, for the rest of your life now, you're going to be a more confident, assertive person. But not in like that asshole way. Then the last one, Lucas, is superstition. All the previous participants from the series have returned and were placed in a room with a counter and several objects, saying that they had to score 100 points within half of an hour. However, the points were only awarded randomly and not by any actions performed in the room. If they had realised that, they might have noticed that there was a further element and found a sign on the ceiling directly above the door saying that the doors were unlocked and £150,000 in cash was waiting for them to get it, which they did not.
No.
So all they had to do was walk out of the room.
Oh man, and that's kind of the genre in Taskmaster of some of my favorite tasks, where like the answer is like just on the ceiling behind them or something.
Yeah, but it teaches you the lesson, right? Of
just look around.
Yep. In another part of the episode, a superstitious woman is tested on her beliefs by being made to do everything that she considers to be unlucky, walking on pavement cracks, under ladders, smashing a mirror, causing her to comment on whether or not she would be killed on the way home. He does this to see if it would affect her luck in an experiment, which it didn't. A caption at the end of the episode says that the episode was dedicated to her memory, having been killed on the way home from filming. Darren Brown announces that this is a joke.
Okay. I was like, I really hope that's not fucking true.
There we have Darren Brown's The Events. And there's like a bunch of these, but the one worth talking about is how to win the lottery.
Oh, yes, of course.
And this is one of those things where, like, is it... And apparently he still gets asked about this to this day, where Darren Brown explains something called the wisdom of crowds. And that's the one thing, is that he's a really good orator. So when he's telling you about this concept called the wisdom of crowds, where... generally, the bigger a crowd of people is, you like average out the intelligence, and questions that you ask that you think, if you ask like a question that nobody there would individually know the answer to, it goes above random chance.
And
that's why the idea of like ask the audience in like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, where overall ask the audience is nearly always right.
Even though normally it's what like a lot of the questions that you use it on. It might be a 55%, 60% of people pick one answer, but the fact that some people pick that answer over the other one, or like some more people pick that, is that, generally speaking, that's going to be the correct answer.
And what he talks about is like, if individually you asked each of these 100 people the question, none of them would get it right. But as a group, when you combine the intelligence, the wisdom of the crowd, you start like, do you know, like, have you seen like Limitless, like the Bradley Cooper movie?
Yeah,
He
yeah.
says about the drug that like activates all his neurons, and he talks about how he writes like a perfect essay because he's like he half remembers a book here, like a magazine he flipped through in like a waiting room or something. It's like that. You're combining like the half remembered knowledge of 100 people, which actually constitutes something approaching the right answer. And he talks about, well, what about if we get every single person to think of what the lottery numbers are?
And the crux of the episode is we're going to bet on the idea of a crowd of people all guessing lottery numbers equals the winning numbers.
Yeah, and what he does is live on TV, he has like the lottery announcements for that week there, and then turns around his balls, which are like not facing the screen. And I don't know how he did it. And as I said, he gets asked to this day, how the fuck did you do that? And every time he's like, well, I just guessed, got it right. And they're like, to the point of people saying, like, did he carve the numbers on individually with fucking lasers or something?
And did that not? It's not like revealed at the end that it's like a pre-recorded fake thing or anything. No.
Well, we don't know. People have claimed it's fake, but
No,
there's
but
never been any
it's
proof.
not revealed that at the end.
It's not revealed now. No
right,
one
okay.
knows like how he did it. And it's to the point where like people still ask him how he did it, and it's like, well, a good magician never reveals their tricks, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Right, because it was live as well. He also did a number of live stunts. For example, convincing people at home they've been stuck to their sofa, which he did do. And I remember because my parents were watching this live at home.
Yeah, I remember watching that live. Again, it's not something that worked on me personally, but I do remember watching it. And yeah, just very funny, the idea that like thousands of people were sat at home thinking they were stuck to their own sofas.
I remember it worked on me and my mum, but not my dad.
Right, yeah.
And we have here.
I can't imagine the amount of like complaints that were called into Channel 4 and that.
Well, here's the thing, though. He did something. I got a few more complaints, Lucas, when he did Derren Brown plays Russian Roulette live.
Oh yeah.
So this got him in a lot of trouble, where he played Russian Roulette live on TV. And the gimmick is that I'm going to predict where a random member of the public that I pick put the bullet.
And then it's like a 6-bullet revolver. He puts one bullet in and then
he pulls the trigger
times.
6 times. He pulls it 6 times, but only one time he's allowed to point it at a sandbag behind him.
Yeah, yeah. So like, obviously he's still making content. Like he didn't shoot himself live on TV, but yeah, he legitimately or seemingly legitimately played Russian roulette with a live round and
on live TV,
predicted it correctly and shot 5 empty rounds into it, or shot 5 times with no round in his.
Just the balls to do that, right?
And then 1 in a sandbag. Yeah. And again, it's something that somehow you could claim is faked in some way, but like he did it with a live audience, live on TV. Like he then shot the bullet. It's not like it didn't fire.
And that's the thing as well. That's one of the things he talks about when people ask me about this. So like the fact that you're asking me about it means I'm not going to tell you how I did it, because that'd reveal how the trick is done. But the fact that you're talking about it is kind of the point, right?
Yeah. Same with Penn and Teller doing the bullet catch trick live as well, right?
They tell you how it's done, but they only tell you half how it's done to make you continue talking about it.
It's like just the fact that like the bullet catch, people have died doing the bullet catch, even though it's a trick.
Yeah, because the way the trick is done is still dangerous.
Yes, exactly. So them doing it live on TV, even though again it's a magic trick, it's a very dangerous magic trick, and there was a potential of them just getting shot live on TV.
Yes, and there's like a bunch of other stuff that he's done, but we'll skip through a few now to get to the ones that I want to talk about. So he did the seance, which is a similar thing where he did a live seance on TV, which was he did reveal that one was fake, but the experience says like the people thought the house was haunted, but he mentions like that's just power of suggestion. I told you that your house is haunted, you saw what you wanted to see. But that one got more complaints than the Russian roulette one from weirdos who were like, there's a demon in my house. It's like, fuck off. He also did Messiah, which he went to America and he tried to convince a bunch of New Age faith healers that he himself was a faith healer, and he managed to trick all of them. just using his knowledge of sight. And that's the other thing he does. Like, well, if I can replicate their powers, it's something like there's a skeptic called the Amazing Randy. He died, but one of the things that he talked about is like it was like people who can move stuff with their mind, and it turns out what they were doing is pursing their lips and blowing really hard.
Oh yeah.
Or like bending spoons and stuff like that. Where he talks about like if they're doing it with their mind, they're doing it the stupid way. Because I can do the thing they do with their mind with like sleight of hand, and it's way easier. It's like, why is it that people who have psychic powers or claim to have psychic powers or telekinesis can't do something that I can just replicate with sleight of hand and subterfuge? If they were really that good, why can't they do something I can't replicate?
Why can't they like move a car with the mind?
Yeah. Why is it they can only do stuff that can be easily replicated by someone who's like knowledgeable in magic? Or like saying like Darren Brown, like why do these faith healers and spiritualists and mediums? Why then in some cases not even do it better than I can? Just cold reading.
Same with the psychics, right? Of like, why is it that I'm better at giving psychic readings than people who claim to be actual psychics?
Yeah. Why is it they have an off day when they don't get it right, but I never have an off day? But we also have the heist, which is where he convinced a bunch of people to like rob an armored car. Just got a bunch of random members of the public, and like just through psychological manipulation over the course of several like weeks and months, got them to rob a car.
And again, this is always people who don't know what they're signing up for other than a Darren Brown show, but they know they're signing up to be up for this kind of shit, right?
One of the things that he does as well is, and he talks about this, which is quite nice. He'll talk about how I started with thousands of people, and we had to whittle them down. Looking for a specific psychological profile that would make them specifically susceptible to exactly what I wanted them to do. That's the thing, but this openness kind of like ironically makes it more questionable, right? Of like, okay, but you're being honest about that, but that makes me wonder, like, is there something you're not telling me?
Again, it's
what makes it so compelling.
It's that fascinating thing, right? Of he is telling us less than 50% of what's actually going on, and it's like, okay, if this is the stuff that you want us to know, what's the stuff that you don't? And like, how much of the trick is being revealed when you reveal the trick? Like, you never know.
Yeah. But we have like the one I think you were referencing, Lucas, of The System in 2008. So Darren Brown shares his 100% guaranteed method for winning on the horses. The show was based on the idea that a system. Right? I think it's an idea he's done multiple times, but this episode, he says, he guaranteed a winner of horse races. Cameras followed a member of the public, Kadisha, as Brown anonymously sent her correct predictions of 5 racers in a row, before encouraging her to place as much money as she could on the 6th race. To demonstrate his system to the viewer, Brown tossed a coin showing 10 heads in a row to show that it was not impossible, just highly improbable. After Brown placed a bet of £4,000 of Kadisha's money on horses in the final race, he then explained to her how the system worked. He started by contacting 7,776 people and split them into 6 groups, giving each group a different horse, as each race had taken place at 5-6. It's like the odds, like there's 5 horses that could have won. There's 5 horses that could have lost, so 1 that could have won. He started by, as each race had taken place, 5-6 of the people had lost and were dropped from the system. Brown had a different person backing each horse in each race, and one individual, Kadisha, had won 5 times in a row.
So she was just the luckiest out of the
She was the
group.
luckiest one. He demonstrates this by showing that the coin flipping trick earlier was genuine. But rather than using a predictive technique, he had just tossed a coin repeatedly until 10 heads had come up in a row naturally, which took over 9 hours to film.
I was going to say it was just that he brute forced it and happened to clip out the moment where he got 10 in a row, right?
And that's what he says to Kadisha.
He's like, eventually I'm going to find somebody that wins every single bet. The problem is that I'm going to rely on loads of other people losing bets to find that one person.
But he only tells her when she's put the bet on, because she thinks at that moment, he's got a system, right? And when he tells her, it was literally 1 in 7,000 odds. Do you think you can beat 1 in 7,000 odds again? And she bets $4,000 of her money on the bet. And he only tells her after she's put the stake on.
And I don't know whether...
I've literally had this happen to me. Do you remember this story where I've had this exact scenario?
Your mate that was like doing small bets on like basketball or something?
So my mate, he wasn't at university for like 2-3 days. And I thought he was pissed or something like that. So I go up to his house and he's in his room in his underwear, and he's just surrounded by like new Xboxes and clothes, and he's in his underwear, drinking like energy drinks with like loud music playing. It's like, Karl, I've got a system. So what? So I figured it out. I know how to win on gambling. So what? And he showed me, his system of what you do. He's got two laptops, and you bet on two different websites that are different odds. And one, like, you bet on, like, you find long shots, and you bet on them like for like £5. So if they win, you get like £50. And then you bet on the other team to win on the other betting site because the odds are better. And either way, you make your money back. Spoilers, that's not how it works.
No,
that is not that simple. But he showed me his laptop, and he had like £4,000.
Mm-hmm.
And he showed me like all he'd done for like the last 3 days. It'd been up like straight 3 days, basically, drinking energy drinks. He'd gone from £50 to £4,000 doing this system. And he convinced me to bet my student loan on this system until like his housemate came downstairs, like, the fuck are you doing? And they looked and went, you're not betting on the other team to win. You're betting on the other team's, the long shot, to win by like 20 clear points in basketball. I don't know how basketball works, but apparently the long shot winning by 20 points over the favourite is real fucking unlikely. That's why it's like the odds were so high.
Mm-hmm.
But it turns out that just my friend had just won every single time.
He just got unlucky.
He got unlucky just like 24 times in a row and had won every single time. And he bet £4,000. And I bet my student loan. And we found this out, like Kadisha did in the show, at the last second when the bet had been taken from the account. And it's like, we're not watching the match live, we're watching numbers on a screen. And we asked the mate, like, so who's winning? Well, the team you bet on's winning, but they're only winning by 17. So what does that mean? He went, that means you've lost your money. And we're like, no. I've lost my student loan. Like, he bet everything. We had nothing left. And then, like, the screen refreshed. And he had like £8,000 in his account, and I doubled my money. I was like, what? I remember, I'll never forget, he put DJ Khaled's All I Do Is Win on max volume, went to the fridge and got 2 beers, handed me one, and went, have fun at work, mate. And we just started dancing. And I've never gambled since that day.
Oh.
I am convinced I have used up all my luck.
I mean,
There's no more luck left.
That happened in like real time to one of my mates, where like they rocked up at my house one day with 2 bottles of Jack Daniels, like, mate, I've just won like £3,000 at the casino, and we stayed up all night drinking and playing Minecraft. Then the next day he rocked up at my house, like, I've lost it all.
See, that's it. I've never gambled since, and that friend hasn't either.
Yeah, that was the day that my friend stopped gambling. He was like, I can't do this again.
End on a high. So I'm convinced, like, when we look, I think we calculated the odds after the fact. It's like, you got it right 14 times in a row. If that was just you flipping a coin, the odds of you doing that flipping a coin would be like 800,000 to 1.
Mm-hmm.
These were sometimes like odds of like 150 to 1. And it always worked out that you made money every single time.
But going back to the Darren Brown show.
Yeah. So
I think this is the one where Darren Brown goes up to the woman at the horse races who's like, you know, giving out money for bets. And he's like, he gives her a losing ticket.
And and he convinces her it's a winning one, right?
And I can't remember exactly how he does it, but he just goes up, gives her a losing ticket, walks away with a bunch of money, and then they ask her, like, so what did you do? And she's like, oh, I just gave him money for a losing ticket. What?
See,
and she's just there like, I know what I did, but I don't know why I did it.
And that's the thing as well. He could use his powers for evil.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he could be like, you know, that the mentalists and the spiritualists that are not the mentalist. He's a mentalist, but the spiritualists and the mediums that he like outs, he could be doing what they do.
And we don't know. He might do it off screen. He might do it when the cameras aren't on him.
But in like Kadisha's case, it says that she thinks she's lost. She thinks she's lost everything. And just like my situation, he says, why don't you look at the ticket again? And she looks, and it's the winner, and she wins 13 grand. And DJ Khaled's All I Do Is Win starts playing. It doesn't. At the end, a title card explains that at each stage of the process, every participant who did not make it to the next round were offered a complete refund of any bets that they had placed. Because not every person.
It's like, it's Channel 4 money, right? Yeah. Like they're going to make sure that people aren't completely fucked over by him.
Yeah, and it's like not every person took him up on the offer of making the bet, because some people like he just sent it to them anonymously in the post and then dropped them from the system. But like some people did take his advice and make the bet, and if in that case there was like a number on the back you'd call and you get your refund.
Yeah.
There was like a couple of other ones. Like most of these are just like him just convincing people to commit crimes. Like there's another one he did, Hero at 30,000 feet, where he convinced a guy to stop a plane hijacking. I think that guy's name was Mark Wahlberg. That's a wiki page we're not doing. The Great Art Robbery, where he gets a group of old age pensioners to get away with stealing crime, stealing art from a museum. Then there's Pushed to the Edge, where he convinces a young man to push someone off the edge of a balcony.
Well, Karl, he doesn't convince a guy, right? The guy doesn't do it.
Actually, yeah, that's the one where he failed, right?
He failed, and he shows the entire episode, like the entire hour-long special, is him showing you every step of the way of how he's going to convince this guy to push another man off the edge of a roof to kill him and get the money.
Yep.
And then the last second, the guy's like, I can't do it, and runs away. And then when he's like, yeah, I didn't convince him to do it, but I did convince the other three to do it. And it's like, wait, what?
Yeah, he did it he did it 4 times.
Yeah.
Because he shows you the episode of the guy who doesn't do it, and you might think, well, I failed, right? So I actually ran the experiment 4 times. Those other 3 fucking did it. Which is not good odds, right? That's 75% of people could be convinced to kill someone they've never met.
Yeah.
And it takes him like, what, a day?
It's literally like a couple of hours of like over the evening of going to like a party in a theatre or something like that, yeah.
Because the other one he did is where he convinced the guy that he killed someone.
Yeah.
And the way he does it is he just fucks with this dude for again like one evening, and he says, "What I'm going to try and do is make him just feel overwhelming guilt for no reason, and then after I've done that, I'm basically going to gaslight it. I'm going to be a bad boyfriend." And the way like he gets this guy is like, for example, he's like a fan of Tim Minchin, the comedian. So he gets Tim Minchin in. The guy's like, "That's Tim Minchin." And he goes over and talks to him. He's on an earpiece to Tim. He's like, okay, so whatever he says next, act really offended and storm out.
And then doesn't he convince him that he's like poisoned him or something?
No, just the guy, because I watched this one this is the most recent one I watched, where the guy in like, it's a fake event he hosts. Someone goes, why did you say that to Tim? Because what did I say? He says, Tim told me you called him a cunt. So, did I? Because obviously he didn't. Yeah. But by this point,
again, he's just gaslighting him, right?
Yeah. And he's like, I didn't say that, did I? It's like, Tim's furious. He's not performing.
Yeah, I did watch this one. I've got very vague memories of this one.
Well, the best bit that they do is like they have a bit where they're all eating food, and like they get someone to tap him on the shoulder and ask him a question, and then they swap his food around, and he has like a full chicken dinner, and they swap it. And the best bit, you see the exact moment his mind breaks, where he turns around, sees his chicken gone, and he lifts up a piece of broccoli, expecting to find the chicken under it. And you can tell, like, obviously, everyone else there's an actor.
Yeah.
And none of them react to it. And he doesn't want to stand out, because that's like what he talks about. Like, people don't want to make a scene with strangers. And if everyone acts like it's normal, he's just going to assume it's normal as well. So we're going to convince him that his mind was wrong. Like, he already ate his chicken. And you just see him just look at his thing, go, just lift up a bit of expecting. So it's like, no. God. And just, they say, oh, a person's been killed. We think you did it. And he goes and confesses. And then Darren Brown walks in and goes, mate, this isn't even a police station, and punches through the wall. And it's paper. And he's like, Darren, is the world real? Are you real? Is this the Matrix?
I that's the thing, right? Is like, it'd be one of those things where you must spend so much time after that event questioning everything of like, is it still part of the show? Like, what is going on? Is anything real?
Was a joke told by the comedian Jason Manford of like, I'm really scared of Darren Brown because he worked with him on my favourite episode, and that's what I'll end on. Where Jason Manford's like, yeah, you did a few tricks to me just to show me how it works. It's like, I'd be fully convinced if he just walked up to me and asked me for my wallet. I'd be scared because I know I'd not want to do it, but I don't know if I'd be able to stop myself from doing it. He's that good. And the episode with Jason Manford is one called The Lucky Dog. And this is my favourite. So this literally changed the way I look at life.
Right, okay.
And what Derek, like the thesis statement of that episode is luck this intangible, innate thing that we all experience, or is it simply the recognizing of opportunities? Is it a mindset? So what he does is that I'm going to see, can we create luck from nothing? So he goes to a small Yorkshire town, and I'm not sure if it's like the statue exists or he puts the statue there, but there's this statue of a dog. And he just, via a fake documentary crew, starts asking people, so have you heard about the lucky dog? And they're never allowed to, and the rule he has is you're never allowed to outright say that the dog is lucky. You just have to ask people if they've heard about it. And they keep doing this document, and they find a few people who consider themselves to be lucky, unlucky, just they don't have any thoughts on it whatsoever. And just over the course of a couple of like months, eventually everyone's like, yeah, I've heard of a lucky dog. It's like, so yeah, I pet the dog, and like, I won £10 on the lottery. And they have like a hidden camera watching this dog. And over the course of months, you see people going up and like rubbing the lottery tickets on the dog. But the bit that gets me is there's this dude who says, I'm unlucky. I'm really unlucky. So what Darren Brown tries to do is, okay, we're going to engineer situations where a normal person would see that as like a windfall or fortune. But is it because he's just a negative, sad bastard? He's not going to see it. So first they have like, we put a scratch card through his door. And if he scratches it, he wins a TV. Doesn't scratch it, throws it away. Next, what we do is there's a woman asking questions on the street. And if you answer the question, you win £20. The question is, can you name 5 cuts of beef? For the record, the guy's a butcher. The lady asked him, can you stop to do a survey? No. Doesn't win the 20 quid. And Darren's like, you know what? No, I want to get his attention. So Darren runs out of a car and puts 50 quid on the floor on his way to work. And the guy walks past it. And then he says, you know what? We're going to get his attention somehow. And he hires a fucking truck and writes, Wayne, call this number on it. And drives past him. And he still doesn't call it.
Oh.
But that's why, and then he says, like, you say you're unlucky, but, and he shows him the camera footage of, like, look at all these opportunities that you had that you didn't take that would have been fortune. Is it that you're unlucky, or is it that you're just not recognizing opportunity and seizing it? Are you not living, are you not grabbing the gift of life with both hands? Are you just like meandering through life? And what he does at the end of the episode is, he says, what we're going to do is we're going to bet, like, I'm going to allow someone to bet any amount of money on a single roll of the dice. And Wayne bets his entire life savings on a single roll of the dice. And he wins.
Right. I mean, fair play.
But just like when he talks about the idea of like seizing opportunity, it's like luck is not something that just happens to people. It's something that lucky people aren't just, they're just jammy guys. It says they're positive people. And just that really resonated with me. And I think pretty much every bit of success I've ever had in my life was just by recognizing and seizing upon an opportunity. Like Wiki Weekends, for example. The reason Wiki Weekends is a thing is because we talked about, like we on our old podcast, wasn't it? Reading a wiki page, and then just after the fact, you said to me something like, "That's pretty. Should we like do something with that idea?" And I'm not sure which one of us it is that recognised it as an opportunity, but we did. We pursued the idea, and like 5 years later, it's its own thing. So it's fact themed. It started because just I saw someone making videos with my articles and thought, well, I should do that. I'll give that a go. And the only reason I was writing articles is because I got an email in my inbox saying, oh, you write articles for this website. Would you want to do them for me? And I went, yeah. And the only reason I was writing for that website is because the same thing happened. And the only reason I was writing articles for the website that they saw is because I saw a notice board on Cracked that said, would you like to write for us? And I just responded and went, yeah. And the only reason I was able to do that is because I went to university. And the only reason I went to the university that I did is because I was told by my dad of just, hey, just do what you find fun. So I like media. That's the thing I had most fun doing. Sheffield. Just following my nose. And it's just like it literally changed. And I recommend that episode above all the others of just, it literally changed the way I approach life. Because just, we've all met those people who are fucking miserable, right?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
They're always like, oh, how's your luck? You know, I've got plenty of luck and it's all bad.
Yeah, yeah.
Every time you talk to them, something negative, and it's like, I get it. Sometimes it's hard to be positive, but you make your own luck.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
And it's fantastic. It's very wholesome as well, and just really funny because like Darren Brown's like a fantastic writer.
Yeah.
Just like the bit where it's like, I'm going to get his attention somehow. Smash cuts to a truck. And it goes past his door like 4 times. He doesn't see it.
Oh god, yeah. I just find everything that he does absolutely
Everything
fascinating.
he's done. I don't think he's ever done anything that I haven't found entertaining.
Yeah, no, even things that I don't think sound like interesting premises, he makes interesting.
Because he's just like such a fantastic orator and like entertainer. But yeah, that's the one of just yeah, he's so good. Just the poor dude where he's like, you see his entire life flash before his eyes. It's another one of those moments where you see the person, like you see like a light go on in his head of I've wasted my life. Like the dude's like 60 years old, and he's like,
Like
obviously,
thinking back about all the opportunities he's probably missed out on.
yeah,
in
how
his
many?
mindset. Yeah.
And that's the point, right? About how many, and that's what Devon says to him, like, how many other times in your life has a situation like this presented itself that you just not seized upon? And the reason Jason Manford, the comedian's in the episode, is because he shows it with some other members of a town, where he's like, we're gonna have Jason Manford, comedian, he's just gonna pretend to have a flat tire, and we've got two people who run pubs, and they're gonna just go past him, and they have an opportunity to help a stranger. Will they take that opportunity? And if they do, Jason will do a free set for them.
Right.
And the first person walks past like, sorry, I can't do anything. I'm too busy. Next person comes, well, I can't help, but I do know there's a garage nearby. Give me a set. And they go and get someone to come in. And then Jason Manford gets out of the car. So, I'll do a gig for you. And like the entire town shows up to watch this gig, and their pub's like the busiest it's ever been. And again,
How
Darren's
pissed
like,
off do you reckon the other person was when
exactly. And when he tells the other person, of like, now don't you feel bad for not helping that person? And he says, even if that person wouldn't have been a famous person who could help you, at the very least, you'd have helped someone, and now there's someone out there who owes you a favor. And not in the bad way of like you owe me, of like just there's someone out there who now likes you and will be enthusiastic in helping you if you need help.
It's just one of those things as well. I'm very much a believer of trying your best to be positive to other people, because like that might encourage other people to do the same, right? And just it's the exact same way of like, if someone is just a knobhead to you in public for no reason, then you're more likely to then take that and be, take that negative energy and push it onto somebody else, right?
Exactly, yeah. But it's that is just that concept explained very well, better than I can here, over the course of like 45 minutes. But yeah, it's just that moment where, as I said, specifically when I rewatched it, I remember it clear as day. The exact moment you see Wayne, you see it in his eyes. His entire life, he's like 60 years old. He's like, I've fucking wasted. I'm 60 years old and I've wasted everything. Because that must be awful. Like, imagine that.
Yeah.
Imagine getting. It's like the joke they say. It's like another. It's a bit pithy remark, but it's another one that changed my perspective. And you know, like Facebook times that people would always mock people always on the phone taking photos of everything.
Oh yeah.
Which is like a thing people still make fun of to this day.
Mm-hmm.
And just I saw like I think it was like Tumblr or something. Just there was a comment that went viral and said, you know what? When I'm older, I think the last thing I'm going to be saying is I wish I had less photos of myself and my friends. And you know what? Yeah, I've never heard anyone say that, right?
Yeah.
When have you ever heard someone say, I wish I had less photos of my friends?
It's the one feature of those like smart glasses of different varieties that I'm actually interested in, is like, oh yeah, well here's just like the 4K footage that I shot from my perspective without ever having to like glance at my phone or anything. Like, here's just all the like videos and photos I took on my holiday, while like in perfect clarity with like audio as well, and just the idea of not having to like, put that barrier of like a phone between you and the person that you're with. Yeah.
That again, it's something so simple, but it something clicked in my head of, yeah, why would I ever not want more photos?
I agree in nearly every scenario.
Except for when you're at a concert.
I was going to say the only one is when you're at a fucking concert and everyone's like, it's like, just watch the fucking thing.
Yeah, like take one photo when you're there. And obviously there's an exception to every rule. But just that's one of those little things. And is there anything like that for you to end on? Like a saying or a bit of advice? Or
I will just, double down on what I said a minute ago of like, I always believe in, regardless of whether you know the person or not, just try to be your best to be positive to other people, and I understand that like sometimes you might be having a bad time, a bad day, whatever it be, and like it can be difficult. But I would always urge people to try and do your best to push positivity, because like whether it's directly or indirectly, it does come back around to you.
It does, yeah. So even if it comes back around to you in a more abstract sense of just being a positive person means that someone out there is having a nice day. It's like just saying thank you to like bus drivers and stuff, isn't it? It's like it takes nothing to do. This is a bit of advice my dad gave me once of it takes so much effort to be an arsehole.
Yeah.
Like it really, if you think about it, it's like it really does. It takes concerted effort to be an arsehole consistently. I think those like weirdos, all they do is scream about whatever, like black people being in movies on Twitter or whatever.
Yeah.
Imagine the effort it takes to do that. And imagine if that, and which when my dad went, like, it would literally be better for those people if they just stayed silent. And that horrified me. That was such a horrifying concept to me of like, imagine dying or getting to the end of your life and realizing that few people have, would the world be better off without me? Of it literally being objectively true that the world would have been better if you not said anything, if you not done anything.
Mm-hmm.
You made things worse by like you'd have been done better by doing nothing. That horrified me.
Yeah, it's just like the idea that that's like the memory that people will always have of you, right? Of like that's not necessarily the reason you should do those things, but just the concept of getting out of people's lives and the only thing they think of is like, thank God I won't listen to that person complain all the time or whatever.
Yeah, there was another quote about that. I forget who it was. It was someone just noticing of it was Rush Limbaugh. He was like a right-wing shit stirrer, like conservative firebrand. Someone pointed out of like this guy died 2 years ago, and I've not literally no one's talked about it since he died, because all the people that were agreeing with him, he was immediately replaced.
Yeah.
Because now he can no longer like just spew shit and hatred on the air. He's not worth anything, so they forgot about him. Everyone that was like, he was actively rallying against their rights and their ability to live and love the way they want. They forgot about him straight away, because why the fuck would they like give him any energy? So he's forgotten. And he exists as just a legacy, a monument to being a piece of shit. What's that like?
Literally nothing to be remembered for.
Yeah, there's nothing worth remembering this person for. And they weren't even bad enough where they did something noteworthy. It's just all they did is every single fucking day woke up and were mad about something. And now they're dead and no one thinks about them.
Yeah, I hope that people who are watching and listening to this just take that away. It's just it can be difficult at times, but I always think it's better to do your best to be a positive person, regardless of, as I say, whether you directly benefit from that. Just I genuinely saw an improvement in my life when I decided to stop being a negative person. It was an active decision that I have had to work on my entire life.
It's like, I've been different, and that's what I mentioned earlier. It gets difficult sometimes because just when you're surrounded by negativity, it influences, like Darren talks about in his shows, of you get influenced by the environment in which you cultivate. So it's on you to make sure that your environment is, if you want to be positive, you've got to foster a positive environment. And that starts with you, but yeah. It's tough. But like I say, it's a fantastic watch, whether it's for entertainment or life advice.
Yeah, 100%. And hopefully everyone out there is having a lovely day and spreading out positivity. I like to hope. Hopefully we've done that today, and hopefully we do that in general. That is what we aim to be.
I think 99% of our content is positive, and the part that's not is we're only ever angry in a way where we can laugh it off, unless it's about something that is a genuine thing that upsets us. And that's generally when we're upset on behalf of other people, right? When it comes to like their rights or them being unable to express themselves.
Yeah, 100%, yeah.
Which I feel is justified, almost.
In times like these, always sending our love to every guy, gal, and non-binary pal out there, and just...
So it's righteous indignation, isn't it?
Yeah.
But even that can get old, so...
It is, yeah. It can indeed. But, yeah, just hopefully people are, as I say, having a lovely day, and thank you all. Gift.
The funniest part is we're talking about it being so positive and a wholesome effect on our lives, and the thumbnail is him looking like a fucking serial killer. He's genuinely such a nice guy. He seems
He really
so
seems
nice.
like it, yeah. And
But
I, obviously just got that one in the thumbnail because it was a nice
clean
HD picture with
really
him
easy
like
to
nice
edit
in
around as well, like,
focus,
because he's so smooth.
nice silhouette, yeah.
Like he has got really like just like resting bitch face. He's got like dark bald energy. Like, is that can we coin that term, dark bald energy?
Oh god, no! Like make him a hitman assassin. Agent.
He does look like Agent 47 a little bit. And the thing is, though, he wouldn't need to be Agent 47. He convinced you to be Agent 47. And then he nick your wallet.
He would indeed. But thank you all for
Everybody.
listening. Have a lovely day.